A very good morning to you. Thank you for making time to join us on the AM show, the morning show that discusses all that matters to you. Well, we'll bring you the news shortly. Then, for our newspaper analysis, we've got energy analyst Kojo Poku joining us for that. And then we'll delve into the big stories. Today, hashtag Kumawu decides. It's a battle between the NPP's NSC Awenim, the NDC's Kwesi Amankwa, and two independent candidates who bear the same name, Kweku Dua. The Electoral Commission says it's ready for this exercise to find a replacement for the late MP for the area, Philip Baswa. We go hard on this today on the AM show. Stay with us for in-depth analysis and live on-the-ground discussions. You know, we are your election headquarters. Also on the show, we'll tell you how Inspired Today Foundation, an NGO that focuses on supporting young menstruating girls in public schools, will tell you how they're seeking your support to mark this year's World Menstrual Hygiene Day. We've got this, and later, definitely, you get the chance to share your thoughts with us via phone and social media. I'm Bernice Abubeidulansa. Thank you for your company once again. We go straight into the news right after this. Thank you so much for staying here. It's now time to bring you the news. And the Inspector General of Police has been meeting the leading members of the NPP and the NDC, plus one of the independent candidates in today's by-election in Kumawu. This follows tension between the NPP and one of the independent candidates. Now, constituents will decide today who their next MP will be after the demise of Philip Baswa. Now, though the NPP has won that seat over the years, an independent candidate, Kweku Dua, came close to snatching it in the 2020 parliamentary elections. Let's now hear from the candidates in today's election.
I can say that we have a very good chance because we lost the seat and we are poised. And as you all know, Kumawu is a traditional NPP seat, and it's something that we've been working on all these years. And since the campaign started, I've been working so hard day and night because we don't want to just relax and think that is our seat, so we are definitely going to get that no. I've been working very hard, and you've all witnessed the number of people we have within the constituency. We have from our national to the region to the government officials. Everybody is here to help me campaign, and we believe that with the work we've put in, we stand a very good chance of winning the by-election come Tuesday.
The several polls seems to suggest or puts you ahead of your competitors. As a candidate, does it make you somehow swollen-headed?
No, I'm not swollen-headed at all. This all only encourages me to work hard because I know that in politics you can't be complacent, and one thing that I have maintained is that it's not just about the win, but it's about the margin of win. So if you're able to put up a good show and we are able to get a very wide margin, then the good people of Kumawu understand that yes, I'm the chosen one for the constituency, and they believe in my capabilities and they believe in what I can do for the good people of Kumawu. So we are not going to relent. We are going to work hard and push to get at least a percentage that would motivate the government to bring more development to Kumawu.
So in your own estimation, what percentage will motivate the government enough to bring development to your constituents?
I am not going to put out any numbers, but what I believe in is that we are going to do better than we did the last elections, and I'm confident that we'll do more, and the government will be happy for what we have been able to achieve by the end of Tuesday.
Yeah. Your slogan is Nkabo Muhene.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, so what we came to meet, we all know that there were divisions within the party in the constituency, and my vision was to try to bring all the factions together to try to unify the party, and that is something that I've been able to achieve since I won the primaries, and now you have all witnessed that the party is more united, and we all understand that we have a common goal, which is to defeat our opponents, the NDC and the independent candidates. So we believe in unity. We believe that in unity we'll get development.
Our chances is very great. We're going to win this election. As you can see, it's not going to be a marginal win. It's going to be a landslide victory because Kumawu is ready to make history.
Today, the president was here, the vice and other persons within government were all here to campaign for the NPP's candidate. NPP pulled massive crowd here at Kumawu earlier today. I'm seeing your campaign. You've done 2 separate campaigns here today. Comparing the crowd to yours, don't you think your numbers are not as encouraging as the NPP's numbers?
I mean, this is political gimmicks that the NDC used to play ages ago. You saw the numbers and you saw the buses. So let's not misplace those facts. There's a lot of buses that came from Kumasi. So if you bus people here, you can tickle yourself and have a laugh. You saw our rally. The one in Oyuko, the one in Bodmasi. These are indigents. There are no buses around here. You can turn your cameras around. These are indigents who are going to force and effect this change. And it was the same in Oyuko. The NPP can tickle themselves and have a laugh by busing people to deceive people that they have the crowd. At the end of the day, come Tuesday, Kumawu is going to rewrite history in the constituency.
Looking at the numbers from the previous elections, it looks like the NPP has always given the NDC margins when it comes to the votes that the NPP is able to acquire in this constituency. What makes this time different?
What makes the difference is we've handed an opportunity to the NPP party as a constituency, and at this moment, for 28 good years, we've realized the NPP party does not have anything good for this constituency. And this time around, unfortunately for them, NDC has a candidate in myself, Kwesi Amankwa, who is an advocate for change, who is a visionary, who is ready to develop Kumawu. And now my message has gone down. The youth of Kumawu especially are ready for this change, and they are backing this change, and they are ready to rewrite history, and we're going to rewrite history. That's why the data that's there is going to be rewritten.
We are seeing an improvement in road facilities and other infrastructure within the Kumawu constituency, and the NPP have been touting this achievement today at their rally. What is your message to your people, especially concerning people who are being convinced by the development that they are seeing?
After 28 years, if this is all MPP can boast of, I mean, it's just pathetic. And aside from that, I take pride in what is happening because we stood up against the MPP. We are not even in parliament yet. We stood up and we are advocating for development in Kumawu, and this is what they can do to show. And this is what they can boast about after 28 years. This shoddy roads, I mean, development is development. They must as well do better roads. We deserve better. And the youth of Kumawu and Bodmasi are crying out for better development.
To us who voted and who are from this constituency, everybody knew that I won that election. And for that reason, I was bent on going to court to seek redress. Well, some movements went on and they came and apologized through the Omanyene. He's my grandfather. So when he called me, I obliged. When they approached me that, hey, we want to know what you're going to do, they knew I was the right person to go. That's why they approached me in the first place. They should have asked me to go uncontested. And I told them that. I said, listen, if I contest with anybody, I will lose. Why? Because I don't have anybody to vote for me. So we leave it to the people to decide whom they trust, whom they can trust, whom they think can deliver for them. And I'm doing it with my own money, with my own resources. So do you think if the government gives me something for developmental project within the constituency or the community, I'm going to blow it? No, I'll use it for that purpose.
So you've heard from three of the candidates, first the NPP, then the NDC, then Kwekudria, who is one of the independent candidates. The second one, another Kwekudria, has expressed disappointment in the Electoral Commission over the change of his symbol on the ballot paper to a hoe. The candidate had earlier opted for a falcon, which was protested by the other independent candidate who used a white dove with an olive leaf in its beak. The agitated second Kwekudria, speaking to Lava FM's Danaya Ojima, explained his team had sent two different sketches of a bird to the EC to replace the earlier symbol.
Nobody has ever confronted myself or any member of my campaign team that my logo resembles that of the other independent candidates, so therefore they might be confused during the election. I was a bit baffled, but, with humility, I concurred with the EC. And then the EC went on and gave me a hoe. We didn't have any agreement on that. Probably maybe I could have chosen another symbol for mine, But they didn't. What happened was that they wrote me a letter and I replied. When I replied, I gave them another sketch with a gold outline. That was sketch number 1. And then I gave them a second sketch with a light blue outline. Dr. Sibo Kweku explained to them that the EC was waiting for my reply and they didn't get any reply. They didn't get any reply from mine. And so therefore they've gone ahead to choose, the hoe for me as my symbol. So I didn't agree and I opposed. But they said that they are being backed by constitutional instruments and all that. So there was nothing that I could do with it. My ardent followers and supporters had advised me that they are not there to look at symbols to vote. They only know Kwekudia to be occupying the number 4 on the ballot. And come 23rd May, they are going to do the needful for me.
Stay with us here on your election headquarters. We will be live in Kumawu as well as bring you in-depth analysis here on the show away from Kumawu for the news. The Upper West Regional Communication Bureau of the NDC has given a 2-week ultimatum to government to make available enough food, ingredients and money to headmasters of various senior high schools in the Upper West region. Now, this is to enable them feed students and run schools effectively. The group says shortage of food at schools has forced headmasters to turn to beggars and borrowers in order to cater for the students. Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
The Akufo-Addo government in 2017 rolled out the free senior high school policy anchored on 4 pillars: removal of cost barriers, expansion of infrastructure, improvement in quality and quantity, and development of employable skills. Under the policy, the National Buffer Stock Company, with the help of licensed suppliers, restock the food reserves and distribute the food to schools and various senior high schools in the country. 6 years after it was rolled out, the Upper West Regional Communications Bureau of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, has some concerns over its implementation. Leading the charge is the Upper West Regional Communications Officer of the NDC, Issa Kantajari.
The summary of the state of Akufo-Addo's poorly implemented and failed free senior high school program is a story of empty bragging rhetoric, display of arrogance, intransigence, empty flowery, heavily accented talk, and monumental failure.
Speaking at a press conference held in WA, Issa Kantajari stated that their checks at the various senior high schools in the Upper West region have revealed all schools have not received their recurrent expenditure and the arrears have accrued since 2021. As a result, the schools are currently starved of the needed funds and resources to keep the schools running, especially for feeding of students at the boarding houses and also impeding administrative works at the schools.
Some senior high schools in the region have not been feeding their students even a single meal. The reason for this happenstance was that government has either not provided them with food staff or is owing the caterers who cook for these students a lot of money, and caterers simply do not have money to continue to cook for these innocent students, and hence these students are sleeping on empty stomach, while institution managers and their directors have all been cowed into submission and muted from uttering a word to the media about these challenges the schools were faced with.
The NDC Upper West Region's Communications Bureau also made the following observations on the food served at the dining halls.
Over a year today, for breakfast, children have been served with food with one ladle each of poor quality porridge or tea, most often without sugar or milk, let alone talk of bread or breadfruit, popularly called bofruit in Ghanaian parlance. Then for lunch, the quality and quantity of food served students had also been depreciating badly, and for a while, children were being served with some violent colored soup until some time. But now as we write, for lunch, children are being served every day one ladle of white rice without any semblance of stew, gravy, soup or sauce, not even oil. Again, for supper, the same white rice, or in some cases teased, is served, while same rice water without sugar was being served every day for breakfast.
The dire and helpless situation, according to the NDC Communications Bureau, has forced headmasters to turn into beggars and borrowers.
It will surprise you to know that headmasters have now turned into professional beggars, begging left, right, center, just to feed our senior high school students. It is tried knowledge that headmasters have also resorted to borrowing foodstuffs, sometimes one or two bags from colleagues and benevolent individuals in order to feed their innocent students for just a meal, while future meals are left to an undecided destiny.
They concluded by giving the government a 2-week ultimatum to work to change the situation at senior high schools in the Upper West region.
We are giving the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government a 2-week ultimatum from today to, as a matter of agency, make available to the senior high schools in the Upper West region enough food and other ingredients, as well as manna, to enable headmasters purchase the necessary perishables that are needed to feed our brothers and sisters in our senior high schools. Anything short of that will warrant series of actions from us until the government succumbs and sees the need to do the needful.
Upper West Regional Manager of the Buffer Star Company, Akansiba John, however, has declined to speak on the issue. Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam.
We're still on education. Some pupils of Adaklu Aveleba District Assembly Basic School in the Adaklu district of the Volta region continue to bear the brunt of the weather as they study under trees. This is because the junior high school department lacks the needed infrastructure to enable teaching and learning. Fred Kwame Asare visited the school. Here's his report.
The Avelebe DA Basic School serves as an educational center for satellite communities in the enclave. The junior high school department does not have a befitting classroom block. 2 out of 3 thatch structures constructed by the community folks to accommodate the students were destroyed by a storm. This compelled the school's management to house forms 2 and 3 under trees.
And this is a structure that we used to, sit under before teaching the kids. But sometimes when it rains, we find it difficult to be under the shade for lesson to go on. When it rains, that becomes a main problem. Sometimes we don't come to school at all because of the rain nature of the nature of the road. Yeah.
The pupils are not happy with the development as it is affecting academic activities. We don't feel comfortable learning under the structure. We are scorched by the sun and drenched when it rains. Our books are not spared. Another challenge is the lack of accommodation for teachers in the area. The teachers live more than 20 kilometers away and commute to school on weekdays. Abigail Hekbo is a teacher at the Avelebe DA Basic School.
We are far away from the school, so we normally take motorbikes to school. And when it rains, we find it very difficult to come to school. Let's say it's rained heavily and the water overflows. At times, the road becomes flooded and the motorbikes cannot pass through the the flood. So we have to stay back and wait for, let's say, 3 or 4 or even a week before we come to school. So when the students come to school and they find that we are not around, they also go home and stop coming to school. They take it as holiday.
The headmaster, Augustus Soji, appealed for the construction of a pavilion to house the pupils in the interim.
If we can get at least 3 units classroom, if not a full classroom, it should be at least a pavilion. So that even if community is ready to put a block under it. So if that can be done, at least for the children to feel comfortable in their classrooms, and also at least a place for the teachers to stay, so that they can stay, because the teachers are staying more than 20 kilometers far away from the school, and it becomes difficult when teachers give homework. They don't have anybody to help them. So in case the teachers are around, the children can visit them, and so that they are being helped. And that will help a long way for the development of the school.
The management of the available DA Basic School hopes that the government or a philanthropic organization would come to their aid and provide a 3-unit classroom block and teachers' accommodation for the school. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Adaklu, available.
Away from education, a neurologist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Professor Stephen Safo, is advising stroke survivors to desist from using herbal ointments to treat their condition. His call follows a study that found that many stroke survivors turn to herbal medication with hopes of seeing improvement in their condition. Joy News' medical correspondent, Dr. Nesta Pasram, has more in this report.
The museum abuame bakura me kan say amuame me use you know nti me mom dey na me prefer no
Anecdotal evidence suggests the use of herbal preparations in the management of stroke among many Africans. The study, published in the Journal of Neurological Sciences, revealed that 43.4% of participants use herbal preparations when managing stroke. The main reasons for their use include expectations of faster recovery, cure, and superior effectiveness compared to approved conventional medications.
They are not just focusing on the orthodox medication, but there are other sources of treatment that they go to, including herbal medication and so forth. Now, our analysis showed clearly that those who are on herbal medications, their blood pressures were not as well controlled as those who were not on herbal medications. And that belief in herbal medication is something that we need to start working on and addressing. Because stroke survivors need to understand that, number one, there's a risk factor for the stroke, and that is maybe hypertension or high cholesterol, so those factors need to be addressed. But importantly, a lot of our stroke survivors only focus on the deficits or the disability that they have. So most of the herbal medications are applied to the skin, to the leg that is paralyzed, with the hope that applying them topically would help them to regain their strength. But as I explained in my earlier presentation, I said that the pathology in stroke occurs in the brain. So really applying agents to the skin may not be able to get to the brain to be able to reverse the damage that is done. And so it's something that we need to, as a country, collectively look at how we can balance this orthodox herbal medication use in the context of stroke care. Definitely, I'm sure those who are using herbal medications have done some research on their own or have done some work on their own. And so we are not entirely saying that herbal preparations are to be banned or it's bad, no. What we are saying is that before we prescribe any herbal medication, we should at least know what the targets for the treatment is compared to what they're able to derive when they take their orthodox medication.
Professor Stephen Safo advises that individuals should manage their stroke risks such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. Reporting for Joy News, Dr. Neta Patra.
And that's how we end this edition of the AM News. We'll be back delving into the newspaper headlines in a minute. Do stay. Thank you so much for staying here on the AM show. It's the day the people of Kumawu have been waiting for, an opportunity to elect an MP after the former passed away, sadly. And today I've got the Daily Graphic, the Daily Guide, the Finder, and the Economic Times, and I will be going into the details. But on the front page of 3 of the papers I have, the Daily Guide, the Finder, and the Daily Graphic, the Kumawu by-elections are captured there. I've been joined today by energy expert Kojo Poku for our analysis and discussions on the headlines. Good morning to you. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing great, by God's grace. Thanks for asking. So we start off on
I proposed that there was a show, but you guys never did the show. Ben and Ben. What happened to that show?
Which one?
The one that Ben and Ben show. The Ben and Ben show.
Well, it's Ben and Benjamin on the AM show, so I mean, I think that works, doesn't it?
Well, it's nice to see the Coca-Cola and the Fanta on the screen in the morning.
I'm grateful that you could make time to join us, and that's a nice bow tie, by the way. And
thank you.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. So the Kumawu by-election, big story on 3 of the papers I have here. The Daily Graphic, interestingly, I don't know why, captures the story with 3 of the candidates. NSC, NPP, Kwesi Amankwa, NDC, and Kwekudua, an independent candidate. The other independent candidate is not captured. But in the story, though, they do acknowledge that there are 4 of them. On the Daily Guide, it just has the picture of NSC, and the story is Enin tipped to win Kumawu seat. On the Finder, the angle is Kumawu by-election, police promises to ensure law and order. So the interesting thing about Kumawu, Mr. Poku, is that it always has been an MPP stronghold. But in 2020, something tricky happened, which is Kwekudua, who is captured on the front page of the Daily Graphic, the independent candidate, because 2 of them are, the 2 independent candidates are Kwekudua. He defected from the NPP, and that altered the dynamics a bit for that particular elections. Now, there are those who are saying that it will be a critical one for the NPP, considering the gains Mr. Kwekudua made in the 2020 elections. I don't know what you make of this election, the interesting dynamics. Now we are hearing that on the ballot sheet, Kwekudua and Kwekudua, who are the independent candidates, are clad in kente. They had similar symbols of birds, but the EC changed the others to a whole. I don't know what you make of the by-elections in Kumawu generally.
Well, I think that journalism is about creating excitement and making it look like, oh, there's something to see here. Look, Kumawu was not an MPP stronghold. Kumawu is an MPP stronghold. It's our backyard, So I don't know how anybody is trying to make it look like there's a threat, there is this, and Kwekudua might win. Yes, Kwekudua is from the MPP folk. And he went independent. And in 2020, he had a certain level of support. Now, it doesn't translate that he's going to get that same level of support 4 years later, because the candidates that are run on the MPP tickets are different. You have seen the strong rallies that we've done. You've seen the strong showing that we've done in the Kumawu area. People will say that, why are you doing all this if it's your stronghold? Let me tell everybody who doesn't understand these kind of politics is that you need to go and consolidate your base. Kumawu is a base that we are not only going there to basically do the campaigning, we are going there to let them know that, look, we are still with them and they are still with us. If you leave space, they say the devil finds job for the idle hands. If you are complacent and think that, oh, it's my stronghold, I'm not going to do much, then you find elements that will go in there and basically tell stories that are not true. That's why you've seen the show of force that we have put towards Kumawu. But there's no doubt that at the end of this evening, the NPP candidate will come out flying colors and win massively for the Elephant family.
What is giving you that confidence?
Look, something is called your stronghold for a reason. You know, when people tell you don't call something a stronghold for a reason, okay? It's like the whole Central, Kita, and Pandu, and all those areas that are NDC stronghold. It's called a stronghold for a reason. There is historical data that shows that people in the area vote massively for a certain party. In Kumawu, they vote massively for NPP. Like I said, Kokutia is or was an NPP person, okay? He just went independent. So he might have his problems, the reason he went independent. But the point is, one thing that everybody must acknowledge is that the minute you leave the party, people in the party don't live with you. People in the party are very loyal to the party. So when people entertain, oh, I'll go independent, I'll do this, there are few instances, like a lot of people mention Fomena. Fomena is a different instance because he was a former MP who have done a lot of work for the constituency. So the constituency acknowledged what the Fomena MP had done, and then when he went independent, the entire block of Fomena followed him and voted him as an independent. This is the case where Kwakudia has never been an independent. He's never been an MP. He has never won in that constituency. So yes, look, you take every little threat as a threat, okay, and deal with it massively. But there's no doubt that at the end of this evening, you will know that the NPP candidate will come out massively, and there will be no doubt that Kumawu is still an NPP stronghold.
Well, we've got our fingers crossed. Much later on the show, we'll be bringing you some more analysis, looking at the trends, the history, looking at the dynamics. Mr. Kojopoku thinks there's no threat to the NPP here. We'll hear what other analysts have to say on that particular one. Let's stay a while on politics, because on the front page of the Daily Guide, there's this one. We remember Dumsop Baumia pokes NDC. Details of that story captured on page 3. I'll just read a bit. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia has made mockery of the NDC's ambition of winning the next elections. He said the NDC's mismanagement in political office, which resulted in severe hardship and electricity crisis, also known as Dumsop, is still fresh on the minds of Ghanaians. In this regard, the vice president, who sounded like a prophet of doom, boldly predicted an embarrassing defeat for the NDC in the upcoming 2024 presidential elections. Mr. Kojopoku, that is your field, energy expert. Recently, though, we heard from the PURC when the increment in electricity tariffs were announced, and in that statement, the PURC said in order to prevent what is a looming crisis in the energy sector, a high possibility of doom so, there was a need to increase the electricity tariffs. I don't know what you make of that. Mr. Kofi Kapito, at the time when I spoke to him, didn't seem to feel that that reason was justifiable enough, juxtaposing that against the kind of service that we receive from the electricity company of Ghana. Dumso is topical in Ghana. In fact, I have heard from people who say they don't want to go back to those times at all. But is that enough to say the NDC will not win the upcoming elections? Is that to suggest that an incoming NDC will take us back to the days of Dumso? Isn't this just mere politicking?
Look, when it comes to those technical areas, I'm very passionate about it, and I don't do politics with those areas.
Right.
If you now go into the warning of the PURC, it's very real. We are very close to a point where we might not have enough generation capacity to serve the nation. Okay, that is the fact. If people want to do politics with that, that's their own. But the data that we have seen at civil society and the data that's on the ground tells us that if something massively is not done in the sector, one, for fuel security, when during the peak, when we have all the generations, and now we are about 3,700 megawatts in demand during peak. So we are very close to the 4,000 mark. If you look at in 2012, when Dumso came, Ghana barely had 1,800 megawatts capacity demand. Today, we are close to the 4,000, and we are growing at about 250 megawatts a year. So by next year, which is 2024, we would have almost hit peak of about 4,000 megawatts, which brings a lot of challenges. One, we have something called the spin capacity, which is the reserve capacity that you need. So if you are trying to hit, let's say, 4,000, you need about 20% of that 4,000 as your reserve capacity, which will work out to about 800 megawatts, which is free energy that you can call on in terms of maintenance, in terms of any problems.
Right.
We don't have that. Okay, so there's a need to immediately increase drastically the amount of installed capacity that we have. 6 years ago, we could talk about excess capacity. Today, 6 years on, nobody can talk about excess capacity because there is none. Then you come to the fourth challenge. You've had intermittent power crisis around the country where ECG or Gridco will come and say that there's no gas coming in from Nigeria, and as a result, we are having to go into a bit of a load shedding in the night for like 2 hours or 3 hours. So yes, if PLC comes out to say that going into an era where we do not have enough capacity, generation capacity, yes, the threat is real. So if somebody stand on a platform and shout about we remember NDC, well, it's not about NDC anymore. It's about the situation on the ground and you solving the problem. Okay, so let's not. For me, that's an area that if you are not careful, you see, it's an eventuality. Eventuality means that whether you like it or not, we will get there. If we do not add about 600 to 800 megawatts in the next 3 years, yes, we will get back to do so. That one, nobody can refute that. So between now and 2026, we need to add about 800 megawatts to the power, to the plant. And when we do that, what it means is that we need to now increase the gas supply that we have. Now, in certain times, ECG and VRA is having to buy HFO or light crude to supplement the gas that we have. All this is at the background that Akosombo stays very high. If we have a bad season where the rain doesn't come as much, then it will throw us into a much worse problem than we think that it will get to 2026. So look, let's not do politics with remember NDC and doom. So no, it is real. It can happen in the next 2 years.
And so what are the steps that need to be taken? Obviously, we know that there needs to be investment in that sector. We've had times when the power producers, the electricity suppliers tell us that, look, you're not even paying enough for power. That's the first thing. 2, you're not bringing the money as you should. And that's why recently we saw the ECG embark on this exercise trying to get, its debtors to pay off their debts. This problem has been one that has, like you say, it's an eventuality. It keeps coming. We try and solve it, and then it keeps coming. What is the lasting solution to the problem? How can we get ahead? Because then the expectation, like you say, we have 250 megawatts added every year. How do we get ahead of that? How do we ensure that we are not always trying to catch up, but we are way ahead of the market demand?
Okay, so now it's a purely private sector driven industry. That is why you saw the recent increase by PURC. Okay, people are trying to make it look like, oh, it was an IMF conditionality. No, it's not. Look, everybody will only invest in a sector when they realize that there's a full cost recovery in the sector. As we speak, companies that have already invested in that sector is owed massively because we don't pay enough for electricity. Today, the last increase done by PURC brings us up to par because in that increase, there are 2 things that they did. There's an increase in the cost of natural gas, which is about 6.8%. They did factor that into the pricing. They actually now, for the first time, went ahead and did a realistic exchange rate, which is 12.71. Okay? That, for me, going forward, make sure that when this is implemented, everybody paying for any electricity is paying for full cost recovery. So we can pay our bills. There is already a legacy debt which needs to be taken care of. The ECG and government, Ministry of Finance, is negotiating with the IPPs to find a way to restructure that debt. But we need to stop the reoccurrence of debt so that investors will see that in Ghana, when you invest in power, when you submit your bill, they pay you. Okay? Now that we don't want to do what is called take or pay. Take or pay is you giving a guarantee to the company that install a power plant in Ghana. If we use you or we don't use you, we will pay for it. We don't want to do that anymore. We want to do take and pay. What it means is that the person needs to have confidence in your market that if you don't give me a contract committing you to the payment, by natural occurrence, you will pay. As it stands in Ghana now, by natural occurrence, we don't pay. So that's why people need the guarantee that you will pay them. So with the full cost recovery that we are implementing through PULC and making sure that investors are confident in our power sector, then they will bring in the money and invest. If not, we will not follow. This is how bad it is. When we were in 2012 and we had do so, the government was able to call in on these take or pay put call options and give guarantee to people to come and invest. It took us some time for the power plants to be in place. Now, government has come out to say that we are no longer going to give anybody a guarantee or a take or pay option, which means that if we get back into doing so and we stick to that position, trust me, no company will invest in Ghana because every company at that point hold you by where it hurts. So he will now come and tell you that, no, give me that guarantee that you say you no longer give. So we have to go back to the option of giving these guarantees that we have sworn that we will never do. But the only way investors will come into your country is, one, there's confidence in the sector, and two, they know you are paying your bills. And for me, that is what we are doing now, and the reforms happening in the sector is to give investor confidence for them to invest. But the problem is that we might just be tipping on the delay side where it might be happening a little bit too late. Because even today, if we start to build a new power plant, the power plant will be ready in 3 years. Okay, so if we start next year, it takes about 3 years to go to financial closure and build a new power plant. So that is where the problem is. We are chipping it very close. So let not anybody stand on any platform and do politics with them. So it is as real as we speak.
And one reason why it's very unfortunate when we play partisan politics with the issue of Dumso is a story I'm about to share on the front page of the Daily Graphic, a really sad one. 2 babies die over hospital power cut, 3 others in critical condition. The story is on page 16 and it's by Mohammed Fugu from Damongo. And it reads, 2 babies have died while 3 others are in critical condition at the St. Anne's Hospital in Damongo in the Savannah region following the disconnection of power supply to the facility by NETCO. The newborn babies are said to have lost their lives due to the hospital's inability to test for compatible blood to transfuse them. The head of communications and clinical coordinator of the hospital, Dr. Bediese Ahmed, who confirmed the incident, said the situation was biting hard on healthcare delivery because the hospital was the main referral facility in the area. He indicated the hospital had also suspended deliveries and surgeries due to the power disconnection. And there's a quote on there to confirm the loss of a baby. So the background to all of this, which is important, is that on Tuesday, May 2, 2023, officials of NEDCO cut power supply to the hospital over a 4 million CD debt, but it was later reconnected after the intervention of the Savannah Regional Minister. However, due to the hospital's inability to pay, the power distribution company disconnected the facility for the second time last week. Following the development, outpatient and administrative services were heavily affected, which further impacted healthcare delivery in the area. The hospital is a member of the Christian Health Association of Ghana. According to officials of the hospital, the government was responsible for the facility's electricity bills. For some time now, the facility had not paid the bills, leading to accumulated debt. The outpatient department, which used to record not less than 80 patients daily, is now empty following the power cut. That's what the Daily Graphic gathered. The accountant of the hospital, Rashid Damba, lamented that efforts to prevent the disconnection had been in vain. We've done everything humanly possible to prevent NETCO from disconnecting power supply to the hospital, but our efforts have not yielded the desired outcome. When contacted, the corporate communications manager of NETCO, Max Okotuka, said he was aware of the hospital's disconnection due to debt owed the company, but declined to comment further. I don't know what you make of this, Mr. Kuchopoku. According to the hospital, government is responsible for the bills, okay? And we understand
Why is government responsible for the electricity bill?
Well, the story does not give us details, okay? You know how sometimes some of these things are done, government may opt to because it's not necessarily a private or a public hospital per se, but it belongs to the Christian Health Association, or it is a member, and usually those are usually considered sometimes like non-for-profit. You get what I mean? So according to the story, government is supposed to cater for the bills. But for me, I appreciate the need or the effort by NEDCO and ECG to get those who owe it to pay. But there's also the moral issue here. This is a hospital we are talking about. The hospital claims government is supposed to pay the bills. How would you have preferred that we handle it, or you agree with how NEDCO went about it?
Let's put something in perspective, Ben. Government is never responsible for anything. You see, we live in a country where we think that government is just a pitless pit, where everybody now blames government for everything. You're a hospital. People come to you for surgeries, for OPD, for all things that hospitals do. You have a pharmacy, you have all these things, and you are running at a loss where government is responsible for your hospital bills. No, it's not true. Sorry, for your electricity bills, it's not true. You are supposed to run that hospital efficiently and pay your bills. Government is not responsible for any electricity bill, not even the ministries, not even the schools. You see, we have made it that, when there are appropriations, people take the appropriations and then now say that, I have been appropriated by central government, but I don't have enough, so I will not pay my electricity bill. No, pay your electricity bill. Cut down on other things, but pay your electricity bill. A hospital, which is owned by an NGO, is saying that government is responsible for electricity. Let me now put this out there. We have gotten to the point where most healthcare facilities, which is government-owned healthcare facilities, government cannot run them anymore. That is why, for me, I'm proposing that we now look to reform who owns hospitals in Ghana. Government hospitals should now be owned by trust. And private sector can own these trusts and invest in these hospitals and make them run profitably. If private hospitals can run profitably, why can't government-owned hospitals run profitably? My sister, let me tell you something. Anytime you see a government hospital, you see about 10 pharmacies in that area that are all making money. Anytime you see a private hospital, there is no pharmacies in that area because the private hospital has a pharmacy in there that is making a lot of money and nobody can come and basically cut them around the area. Why is that? Because we always see these institutions as, a bindia, and we run it down. In this case, it's an NGO. But obviously with support from government.
But Mr. Poku, sorry to interject. Is it not the case that government is not providing enough in some of the instances, and so the private people are seeing a need that has to be met? And I can share personal examples. I can share, Mr. Kojo Poku, I can share personal examples with you. In a municipal hospital where they don't have basic intravenous paracetamol. So you have to, they don't have it. Even if you come with the NHS, even if you come with the NHIA card, they will turn you away. So the private person is meeting a need.
Okay, so let me give you an example. All these hospitals are run by a hospital board, right? There's a governing body of these hospitals.
Right.
And these governing bodies, let's take Kumawu as an example, right?
Right.
What you say government is not providing enough, what do you expect government to do for these hospitals? The hospital is set up and has a governing board, and the hospital is set up as an institution to make money. It's the mentality of the people put there that, it's a government hospital. What is the mentality of a government hospital and the mentality of a private-run hospital? After the government has put the hospital up and put all the resources in there, in your story that you were doing, you made mention that the reception or the clinic was very full. Now there's nobody there. So when the people who are there and the place is very full, were they going there for free or were they paying bills?
Mr. Kojo Poku, you also know that there are people or facilities that give medication, for example, on the National Health Insurance Authority, and paying the claims become a problem, right? And so there's no regular inflow. So after a while, the hospitals run out, they can't provide the medication. A private person sees the need there and wants to meet it. I have seen people being turned away. They are holding the National Health Insurance card. They say, we are sorry, we cannot provide it for you because it's unavailable.
I agree. The National Health Insurance Service has been run down, as with everything that is government run. So that's the point I'm making. Anything government run doesn't run properly because of the mentality of the Ghanaian. My point is, look, it's unfortunate that a kid has to die. My problem is unfortunate. That is why
two of them. Two of them.
Let me, sorry? Yes, 3 of them. It's unfortunate that kids have to die, right? That's why someone like me is against Agenda 111. There's no point taking money to go build new hospitals when existing ones that even have a standby generator, okay? There's no need going to build new hospitals when existing ones don't have the basic facilities to take care of certain things. So equip the existing hospitals well, let those ones function and be profitable before you now double the problems with 101 hospitals, okay? So the problem we have in this country today, and I have said it over and over, is that government should no longer, because we can't afford to run hospitals. The country is so big now, 32 million population, that the little resources that government has, we can't run hospitals. So we need to now go and look for solutions. The solution that we've seen in the UK is that they are trust. And private sectors can own this trust and run the trust as a profit-making institution. Then strengthen the national health insurance so that the mobrower who doesn't have, go with their national health insurance, will get the right service that they want and the right medication they want. We have the institution that can work. It's just that the mentality of the Ghanaian is to run down everything government. It's unfortunate.
Well, so so we have some clarity here that there were 2 babies that died over that hospital park card. But you've still not answered my question, though, about how you would have gone about this if you had the chance, if you had the opportunity.
Of cutting electricity? Well, you see, you remember that there was a first instance and a second instance. You see, there is a chicken and egg issue. They went there the first time. I'm sure it's not the first time they've gone there. Most institutions see themselves as, oh, we also what? Look, do you hear the situation with the police stations? And we in the civil society were going to do a press conference, but we decided to leave it and let the police and ECG basically deal with it. You see meters that are installed in some of the police stations. These meters maybe were installed when Kwame Nkrumah was president. And they will tell you that they are paying their bill. Meanwhile, if you see the pictures of these meters, the meters don't work. But the police are not paying their bills. Okay, so with most institutions, and the solution of the IGP was to issue letters that they shouldn't allow ECG staff into their police premises. Why is that? PURC law, the LI of PURC, gives the ECG the mandate to enter any premises that they supply power to. So look, some of these things, I think that it wasn't just abrupt where they went and cut electricity. Even in the story, you realize that there was a first instance, they were giving time, and a second instance, they did not pay. My point is, pay your electricity bill. Electricity is not a free amenity. It's not a social amenity. It's unfortunate that we treat electricity as social amenity, the last result. But when it's cut, we all know the consequences that we face when it's cut. But in the value chain of electricity, we use physical money to generate electricity. So we have to pay our bills. It's as simple as that.
Right, now let's talk about the IMF. The Economy Times has all the stories on the front page focusing on the IMF. IMF Ghana bailout program, the light and darkness, CD now world's best performer, and IMF Ghana intends to agree debt rework memorandum of understanding with official creditors before November. And the one about the CD being the world's best performer, I'm sure excites a lot of people. Is a story by Adnan Adams Mohammed. Soon after the approval of a $3 billion extended credit facility arrangement for Ghana by the IMF, the Ghanaian currency has become the world's best performer against the dollar over the past 6 months. And on the front page of the Finder, one by Bernard Avler, we face deeper issues beyond mere IMF-dictated fiscal discipline. And BOG gives banks 3 years to rebuild capital buffers. Those are on the front page of the Finder in relation to business and the economy. E-levy rakes in 861.47 million cedis in 11 months. Inflows drop in 2023 due to rate review to 1%. The experts, Mr. Kojopoku, have told us not to be too excited about the IMF deal we've been able to clinch, and all the immediate responses from the market, like the CD's performance and all, they say that there are tougher times ahead. You do not agree that the increment in electricity tariffs is part of the conditionalities, but we know it is. It's in the document, and other tariff adjustments. And other tariff adjustment. For you and where you sit, what are you bracing yourself for? Are you part of those who believe that this is the moment we've been waiting for, or you are with those who say that don't be too excited with what you're seeing, it's just the market reacting? Things may not get as worse as before, but they won't be as rosy as some of us may expect.
Okay, so Ben, in the document, I have perused that document, and there is nowhere in that document that says that we should adjust our electricity prices. It's not in there. What is in there is that we should clear our indebtedness in the sector. Okay, so there's nowhere that says that, oh, go and increase electricity tariffs. It does not say that. It says clear your indebtedness in the sector, which you can conclude that by clearing indebtedness in the sector, like I explained earlier, you need to do the right thing. But look, we are not out of the woods. Nowhere near out of the woods. Look, the IMF program is to help us get out of it. Okay? So mostly the actions of the government going forward will determine how quickly we get out of it. We are making what you call a U-turn. You are at the bottom of the U. So how quickly that curve comes back up is up to government. The IMF will only give you a guideline of stipulation and certain rate of growth that you are supposed to have. The IMF is giving you a guideline into things that you need to reduce in terms of your expenditure. Because one of the biggest problems that got us into this situation is over expenditure. So we need to rake in our expenditure as well as looking at increasing our revenue. And one thing that I have always preached is that we need to save as a nation. We don't save, because we are quick to overexpend. So the more you spend and your revenue trickles in, you are always in the end by borrowing. And that is one thing that we need to change if we are going to come out of the problem we are in. The issue of people being excited about the IMF deal, yes. At last, we have IMF in town again. They are going to tell the Ministry of Finance people who were there the last time IMF came, do this, do this, do this, do this. The minute IMF leave, they sit back and don't do anything, listen to their political masters, don't challenge them, and let the politics take effect. So my point is that why are they paid as technocrats and civil servants at the Ministry of Finance? If you take a monthly salary, you are impacted with knowledge. You are employed to do a certain amount of work. When the IMF come in town, they tell you and take you through all these courses, capacity building, and all these things that they do for the technocrats and the civil servants at the Ministry of Finance. And they go to these courses. The minute they leave and a new politician comes in at Ministry of Finance and want to do something else, yes, I understand that job security is important. You don't want to challenge your minister. But at least, let's see one person from the Ministry of Finance that stood up to the Minister of Finance and got sacked. And we in the civil society will run around and do demonstrations and back you. But if everybody sit back and allow, because look, let me tell you something. There are most people, until they are appointed at the Ministry of Finance, they have never seen that many zeros before. But you at the Ministry of Finance, the technocrat, it's your job to advise the politician. But we don't. So my brother, can we go back to IMF again after 2027? Oh, yes, we can, if we don't do the right thing. And if the technocrats and the civil servants act the same way they've been acting, where all the knowledge and the things they know, no, you can't be sacked as a civil servant without cause. And they only enforce these things when it comes to their own personal moment. They don't care about the nation. So I have always said that Ghana, our problem is not the politicians, it's the technocrats.
But Mr. Kojopoku, you understand that sometimes it's a technocrat fighting against an entire system, isn't it? And it doesn't appear to be, an entire political structure. So even though there are technocrats in the civil service, I beg your pardon, and you want them to confront the politician with what's right, this is the way to go, blah, blah, blah. There are people within the system, people within the political structure, sometimes we've heard, who don't even allow these thoughts to get to the person it's supposed to get to, or even in terms of implementation.
Okay, so let me give you a typical example. We always read our budget, and our budget from time immemorial follows one format. Okay, so in the past where we have Kwame, what's his name? During NDC time, then we came into Mr. Dufour, then we came into Setekpe, then we came into Mr. Kenuforiata. Throughout the NPP and the NDC, there is one format at the Ministry of Finance that we use to read our budgets. And let me give you a very small aspect of that where I have a problem with. Every year on year, we have what you call your actual collection. So you know that last year, I only collected 60 billion as my revenue, okay? But the format at the Ministry of Finance is that you go and tell Ghanaians that you expect to basically collect 120 billion. Knowing very well that you cannot accumulate, you cannot even collect 70. But the format, the technocrats will tell you, the politicians, this is how we do it here. And I know that they tell them this is how we do it here because every finance minister does the same thing, right? They know the actual, which is a realistic amount we can collect, which is 60. They will come and put 120 in the budget. Then when they put 120, they will now say that, okay, then our expenditure is 150. What does that do? It only puts the expenditure 30 billion away from the revenue. So Ghanaians and the parliamentary are not too worried. But in actual fact, the politician will now try to strive to spend that 150 at all costs because he has what the parliament has approved 150. Meanwhile, the actual revenue, which the Ministry of Finance knows, is only 60. So what's the difference between 60 and 150? You understand what I'm trying to say? There is a big number between 60 billion and 150 billion. So every year we are overspending. Now, in the following year, when they now come and say, oh, last year our budget was 60, our budget was 120, we did 70. Right? What are you who are you lying to? You know what the revenues are. So what I'm saying is that it's not about the politicians and it's not about somebody fighting the system. It is the technocrats being honest with themselves. They are not. They are just happy to go on per diem trips. They are just happy to collect money from people to make sure that their payment vouchers go through. They are just happy to just basically take a salary. And if Ghana will take its clothes and to my Fra, Ministry of Finance, that's where it starts. The technocrats.
Mr. Hajopoku, I really appreciate your company this morning on the news analysis, and we definitely will do this some other time. Kojopoku, an energy analyst, we started on the Kumawu by-election. He is confident that the NPP will retain that seat. This is your election headquarters. We'll be touching base shortly with our colleagues on the ground and bring you all the analysis on that particular by-election here on your election headquarters. This is the AM show. We will be right back with sports. Before that, though, let me bring you a message from the End Point Homeopathic Clinic. It's offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. And here's where you can find the clinic. In Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronum Abuehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takrade, Anaji Estate. In Tema Community 22. And in Tichuman, in Esiama, in Nzima. Or you can take this number down, 0244867068 or 0274234321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. And this is the end of this segment. We are back with sports. To stay.
Good morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Kumasi Asante Kotoko. They are still hopeful of winning this year's Ghana Premier League after a 3-1 victory over bottom place Kotoko Royals. The Porcupines, who were prior to that game placed 8th on the league log, moved to 4th position, just 6 points behind leaders Midiame SC, who sit at the top of the Premier League table with 53 points. And following that success, head coach of the team, Abdullah Ghazali, says that they are in contention to still be Ghana Premier League champions. Let's take a look at the highlights before we hear from Ghazali.
Game underway. A Japan's corner to the near post. Great save from Frank Boateng to deny Kotoko the opener. Play switches to the right. It's a good ball to find a Fuako. First time pass. Chance for Asante Kotoko. Infege stays onside and he opens the scoring for Asante Kotoko. The Porcupines in the lead under 10 minutes. It's just 7 minutes and it's Kotoko Royals 0. Kotoko 1. George Infege was just spot on. Great awareness. First it was a Fuako who flicked it. It was returned by the centre back. Then Safutela finds Infege, makes no mistake and puts Kotoko through. Wilson finds Mohamed Zakari. He's got Jiko, tries to go all by himself. Idea was good, but they weren't on the same page in terms of communicating. Fawaz. Zakari loses possession. Safutela finds Infege. Can he get a second? And Infege doubles Kotoko's lead here. Indeu is Kotoko Royals 0. Asante Kotoko 2. A double for Infege. Good pass to find Infege. Lovely control and a brilliant finish. Shaibu to take it for Kotoko Royals. Shaibu swings one in and Kotoko have one back. Kotoko Royals have pulled one back. Kwabna Wilson and his charges are back in it. It was always going to be him, Richard Jiko. Here's Asma. He's got a good whip on the ball and Asma's cross met by Boateng. Here's Jamina and he makes it 3-1 for Kotoko. Rocky Jamina 3-1 now for his third of the season in his maiden Premier League campaign. Intelligent play from Lamte to find Asmat. I'll tell you about the quality that Asma has got behind his crosses. Keeper failed to deal with it and Jamina punishes. There he goes. Julian Nunu brings proceedings to an end here.
I think this particular match is a motivation match to us because it's an assurance that we assure each other, both the technical team and the playing body, that the last 4 matches we are not going to drop even a single point. And this one is a motivation to us to go back and get that particular 3 maximum points. I know Caldera 2 is a good side. They are also troublesome. But all the same, we have time to prepare again. We want to bring the supporters back into the stadium and we are going to do the right things. We are going to put the right things in place, get the right system that we can use to also get that particular 3 points next week.
Final question. With these 3 points back, are you still in contention for the Premier League title?
Oh, for sure, because when you look at the table now, we are now in 4th place. Looking at the table, we have come to the 4th place, and I think if we are able to pick this 9, the 3 games in addition, it will be 12 points, hoping that at least any of those who are at the top there will drop either 1 point or 3 points. We can still make it up.
Now let's talk the leadership of Ghana Football Association. A president of the football governing body, Kurt Okreku, says that the task that was given to him to be executed by members within the football governing body has been fully achieved. Speaking to Super Sports Julius Bewa, he says that he's achieved the mandate that was handed him.
I'm very happy about what we have achieved, and I think that the executive committee, my good self, have worked not over 24 hours a day, but perhaps 25 hours, 26 hours a day, just to ensure that we deliver on our promise to fix the fundamentals at this point in time in their football calendar.
But do you think that you've achieved what you set out to do, or the manifesto that brought you to power to say?
So normally I would not even want to look at the manifesto, because if it's about ticking the boxes, i.e. on the provisions of the manifesto, I think we have achieved. But I think we have done more beyond the manifesto. Some of the things that we have been able to deliver to our football people has been special and amazing. That's not to say that we are wholly complete. There's a lot more work to be done for our game, because I belong to that school of thought that for those footballing products that we enjoy on TV from European markets, we should be in a position to also deliver same for our people in our country. And this is what inspires me a lot. What that means is that even though I would want to say that we've done very well, I still believe that there's a lot more work that has to be done.
More work to be done by the president of the Ghana Football Association. This year is an election year, and many aspirants are likely to show up to be contesting Keto Kreku for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association. Well, earlier this year, we had heard from former captain of the Black Stars, Stephen Appiah, who says that it's about time former footballers take charge of governance of football in the country. However, there appears to be some disagreement from the head of player relations of Professional Footballers Association of Ghana, Yusuf Chipsa. He says that you have been a former player does not guarantee you or does not give you the knowledge to be able to govern the sport in the country. According to him, former players must educate themselves to be able to compete and govern football in Ghana.
Ex-footballers or former footballers are still investing in football. They are still following football. They still have the passion in football. They work with football. So as for the possibility, we cannot rule it out entirely. I cannot speak for anybody, but I'm trying to generalize everything. As long as ex-footballers are still involved in football and they have the passion, and I mean, there could be the possibility that one day one former footballer would pop up to lead the association. But then we also have to know that if you want to become an FA president, there's a procedure that you need to follow. You can't just wake up one day and say you want to become an FA president just because you're a former footballer or just because you've played football before. The football is a sport governed by rules and regulations. The football house over there has its own constitution and statutes. So if any person, any ex-footballer, former footballer has the ambition or wants to lead the association sometime in the future, then the person might as well start learning or start preparing him or herself as to how to become an FA president. You know, it's not an easy task. It's not. I mean, it requires more than just being a former footballer. But of course, there is the hope and there is an opportunity for any of the ex-footballers or one of us to lead the union one day.
You have got deep knowledge, football governance, football marketing, everything. Do you have such ambitions?
For now, I'm focused on something. I haven't thought of that yet, but I mean, you can never say never. You never know tomorrow. So whenever my instincts or my body tells me, oh, there is time for this, why not? But for now, I'm focused.
On something. What is that thing?
With the PFAG.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the Baby Jet Under-16 tournament, a competition that has been put together by former Ghana captain Asamoah Gyan to unearth the next generation of football talents. This time around, about 32 teams will be competing for the ultimate honor of lifting the trophy. My colleague Lawrence Bedu was there and put together this report.
32 teams will from June 6 compete for honors and hope to produce the next big star to emerge from the Baby Jet Under-16 African Football Tournament. The event, which was first held in 2018, has seen the emergence and development of some football talent in Ghana, of which Dundee United's Matthew Enim Kujo was identified in the maiden edition. This year's tournament takes a different twist from what has been a signature event organized by the Asamoah Gyan Foundation over the years to give a platform for youngsters to showcase their talent. In addition to teams from Ghana, several others outside the country are expected to be part of the 32-team tournament, which will be staged at the Cape Coast Stadium. Teams from Togo, Nigeria, Benin, and Ivory Coast have all been extended invitations to participate in the tournament. Speaking at the launch of the event, Asamoah Gyan revealed the decision to factor in other countries in the sub-region.
Our goal is to win the World Cup one day, for Africa, and that is why we extended it to our sub-regions, our neighboring countries to come perform. When we have this strong foundation, it will benefit the whole of Africa. It doesn't mean we are doing this in Ghana, so only Ghana has to benefit. Although we're helping these young ones to achieve their dream in football, but it's for the benefit of Africa.
Sami Enim Adu, who doubles as the manager of Gyan, talked about the special inclusion in this year's edition of the Baby Jet Under-16 tournament.
This time we are going to have time with the legends, where you have the legends mentoring these boys, giving them all the advice they deserve to have, what they will never get anywhere. You can see the legends here, all of them will be there with the boys. Apart from them, there will be a career grooming session too, where some renowned personalities like the chairman of KGL Foundation, Dr. Tiusai, also of Linda and Henry and Linda Foundation, other renowned established personalities, even including a former player who played and now he's a doctor lecturing in the UK. He will also be there. And then we are also expecting other resource persons, including some personalities from the country who will be part of the program, where we will add value apart from the football that the boys will play. And then the other thing too is that is going to be on the international platform, where SuperSport and other international media houses like yourselves will also be there to cover, to let the whole world see these boys.
In attendance at the launch of the competition were former Black Stars players including Stephen Appiah, Lai Kenson, John Pinto, Neo Datilamti, and Anthony Bafo. GFA Technical Director Bernard Lipe was also present to offer support. The tournament is set to commence on June 6 with a closure slated for June 13.
Having raised a little over 100,000 Ghana cedis following appeals from key on-air personalities of the Joy platforms in February this year, 850 pieces of wood and 15 packets of colored corrugated alu-zinc roofing sheets were procured, among other accessories, to roof the 3-unit classroom block, along with 3 offices. For the headmaster of the Brema Jamra DA Basic School, it has become more dangerous for the children to continue to learn under the existing weak structure. The roofing of the new classroom block can only be good news to them and taking away their fears.
At a certain level, the work was not going on.
at this level that there has been sheet on it, then the dressing is going on. We are hopeful that definitely the completion of these projects will make everybody happy. Some of the students, because of the nature of the old one, they've not been coming. When you go and ask them, some of them are waiting for the new one to be completed because they are scared. The old one, how it look like. When it is raining and you come around, you see that they become very scared. So when the project is completed, everybody will be happy.
The same are the prayers and hopes of the pupils. For them, the sight of the new building alone is enough to encourage them to come to school in spite of the danger posed by the weak one in which they currently study.
When I see this new block, I think that soon we are leaving our old class to the new class. The classrooms are cracked. When the rain is raining, the roofing sheets, the air raises it. When we are there, we are scared. We are scared that the school will block on us.
The other classroom is not good for us to learn in. We feel hot in the classroom when we are learning, and if the rain is, when it is raining, we don't feel happy when we are learning in the class. So anytime it is raining, we don't learn.
The classroom project is expected to provide safer learning environments for some 700 school children in both central and northern regions. The project is funded by donations from audiences of the multimedia group and other well-meaning Ghanaians.
Expectations among students, teachers and head teacher for the Brema Jamra GA Basic School are very high. So far, roofing is done, dressing is ongoing, but then there is still a lot more of work that has to be done. We are talking about the screening, we are talking about ceiling, there's landscaping to be done. So certainly you can say it is done. And guess what? You are a hope. For those who have donated already, we say we are grateful. For the Israeli embassy, thank you for donating. DBS roofing sheets, we appreciate the effort so far. Forestry Commission, thank you for the wood. For the Ghana Institute of Chartered Accountants, we thank you for the donation. For the Vice President's office, we say we are grateful. For everyone who has taken his or her phone to send Momo or drop in cash, check, just in support of this project, we at the multimedia group and the people of Brema Jamra are saying we are grateful to you. But as I said earlier, until the work is completed and handed over to the community, we cannot sit back and watch. We say, do not stop giving. We're still counting on you.
The Multimedia Group's classroom project is a beneficiary of the Giving for Change projects being implemented in Ghana by the Star Ghana Foundation and the West Africa Civil Society Institute with funding support from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The project is aimed at ensuring social justice through voluntary giving and philanthropy at the local community level to promote development. My name is Amofa Ewenamatiamwa Eli for Joy News, Brema Jamra.
Well, the classroom project lead, Amafa Ewenamatiamwa Eli, has joined me in the studio. I'll be taking you shortly to the Kumawu by-elections, but this is very important. This is a project we've been working on, and you heard her mention some sponsors. We are so grateful for all of you, and I'll never forget that grandma who came all the way, Amafa, to give the very little that she had towards this project. But tell us, there is some outstanding work to be done. And just let us know what that work is and how we can be a part of the solution.
We need ceiling.
Okay.
You know, in February, I had to engage yourself and some of your colleagues to revive the appeal for us to be able to do the roofing. So in that video, we've done the roofing. we need to do the ceiling.
Okay.
We need to do screeding, which is the floor.
Okay.
And then we need desks. We need not less than 150 desks. The one that has the chair and the table together.
Okay.
So that is for the 3 classrooms. And then as well as chairs, tables for the staff common room, and then the headmaster's office. We are also talking about landscaping. All of this will require some amount of cement and labor and a few other things. We need some amount of wood as well. I mean, the bigger problem, which has to do with the trusses, for which reason we had to revive the campaign in February this year. We've been able to do that. But we need wood now for the ceiling. We need to do the screeding. That is cement. You know how cement has become very expensive these days. Right. We also need to do some electrical works because then they need lights. I mean, we are in the age of technology. There'll be instances where they would need to do some project work, so they'll be able to connect. They need sockets and all of that. Okay. They need fans and all of that. So we are saying that so far we are grateful, but then there's a little more work which has to be done. And at this point, who else can we call on except to be able to help us through? Yeah. So essentially that is it.
Right. And there's a history to this particular school, right? And the dream of the multimedia group is not to end with this particular school. We hope to implement this in many other parts of the country. But MFS cited something really important, and if you're somebody who's been embarking on a project recently, you would know that if you had a certain estimate, even as at middle of the year last year, it would be doubled by now. And so those are the challenges we are having, and that's why we keep coming to you, because we know that you have the heart to help, and we appreciate the help so far. So MFA, how do we help? How do we contribute?
So it's the Momo number that we have always been sending to. It's an MTN number, which is 059-3038-832. I'll take that again. It's 059-303-8832 is an MTN number. The account name is the Multimedia Group Limited. And there's also a bank account we have with the Access Bank. The number is 00901054191. I'll take that one also again. It's 00901054191. It's Access Bank, the Castle Road branch. And then the SWIFT code is ABNGGHAC. ABNGGHAC. And for the branch code is 009. Right. 009.
Right. And so you can send your donations through any of these channels and we'll be grateful. But for the MTN, if you can just use the reference, the classroom project or the CP, we'll be able to determine that contribution is coming.
Let me just in case you want a direct contact to be able to speak with someone, you can call 024-161570. 024-161570.
Right. And once again, we're calling on you to help us build classrooms. And MFI, if someone is just hearing about the classroom project for the first time, what's the story behind it, especially Breman?
Breman. You remember in 2017, about 6 kg pupils were in school and it was raining, and then their weak school structure collapsed on them. Those children died. It was a very tragic moment for parents and the entire community. And for us here at the Multimedia Group, in fact, this morning as we speak, we have stories coming in from the Western region where about 4 people have also died under the same circumstance. These things keep happening. And we are not excited to come on air to report when we can do something to avert it. You know, you don't want to tell the bad news. I mean, news is not just about negative. And these are lives. Who knows what these children would have become in the future? And you do not want to take away that opportunity from. It's just a matter of how much space do these children need to sit in to learn. And yes, we know government is doing something, but the fact of the matter is that government is not able to do all of these things at the same time. So at the local community level, we are saying that the little you can do to support as an individual, we all just have to put our hands together. We put
put our shoulders to the wheel, and then we'll be able to make an impact. The later you're able to contribute so that we can create a safe learning environment for these children. This is just Brema Jamra. There's another project ongoing at Tolon, which is that one, it has to do with rehabilitation. It's not a total reconstruction. So we are saying that whatever you will be able to give, okay, is to ensure social justice. I mean, it's disheartening. You've seen stories being told by Jojo Kobna. People don't have desks to learn. They have to lie on the floor in this modern Ghana. You go to some places, children are learning in pens like the one that goats and sheep living. It's not dignifying. Imagine your child living in, and it's not their fault that they live where they live. No, all of us cannot live in Accra. So regardless where you are, we want to ensure that development is experienced, no matter your status. Development is experienced across the board. That is the motivation behind the classroom project.
I don't know what else you need to hear to support. MFR has spoken very eloquently, and I pray you have reason to support. We understand the times are hard, but like she says, it is easier for some of us than it is for others. And so the very little you can make it a monthly affair. If you want to send us 2,000 every month, 5,000 every month, or if you want to make it a lump sum, 20,000, or if you think that your strength is 10 CDs, 5 CDs, 20 CDs, we appreciate it, because when we come together, the very little contributions we make will leave a huge impact. Let me say thank you to MFI and the team working on this. It is very much appreciated. I need you to know that.
Thank you too. For being part of the project.
Definitely.
The children of Brema are very grateful.
Yes, we love them, don't we? That's MFA Ewenam Atiama Eli. She's a project lead for our classroom project. Please help us put smiles on these faces and avert disasters like what happened in Brema Jamra in 2017. So if you missed the numbers she mentioned, you can just get onto our YouTube page, and you can just go back a little and you will find the numbers. Also visit our Facebook page, Joy News on TV. It is the classroom project. You will find a flyer containing the details. We'll take a quick breather. When we come, we are heading straight to Kumawu.
Can say that we have a very good chance because we lost the seat and we are poised. And as you all know, Kumawu is a traditional NPP seat, and it's something that we've been working on all these years. And since the campaign started, I've been working so hard day and night because we don't want to just relax and think that is our seat, so we are definitely going to get that. No. I've been working very hard, and you've all witnessed the number of people we have within the constituency. We have from our national to the region to the government officials. Everybody is here to help me campaign, and we believe that with the work we've put in, we stand a very good chance of winning the by-election come Tuesday.
The several polls seems to suggest or puts you ahead of your competitors. As a candidate, does it make you somehow swollen-headed?
No, I'm not swollen-headed at all. This all only encourages me to work hard because I know that in politics you can't be complacent, and one thing that I have maintained is that it's not just about the win, but it's about the margin of win. So if you're able to put up a good show and we are able to get a very wide margin, then the good people of Kumawu understand that yes, I'm the chosen one for the constituency, and they believe in my capabilities and they believe in what I can do for the good people of Kumawu. So we are not going to relent. We are going to work hard and push to get at least a percentage that would motivate the government to bring more development to Kumawu.
So in your own estimation, what percentage will motivate the government enough to bring development to your constituency?
I am not going to put out any numbers, but what I believe in is that we are going to do better than we did the last elections, and I'm confident that we'll do more, and the government will be happy for what we have been able to achieve by the end of Tuesday.
Yeah. Your slogan is Nkabu Muhene.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, so what we came to meet, we all know that there were divisions within the party in the constituency, and my vision was to try to bring all the factions together to try to unify the party, and that is something that I've been able to achieve since I won the primaries, and now you have all witnessed that the party is more united, and we all understand that we have a common goal, which is to defeat our opponents, the NDC and the independent candidates. So we believe in unity. We believe that in unity we'll get development to Kumawu. So Nkabu Mura is my slogan, and it's something that I believe that is something I represent, and a symbol of my humility and what I seek to do for my people. Yeah.
I didn't know that there was division in the NPP party in Kumawu. You are telling me. So where was the division coming from? And how far have you reached as far as mending those divisions are concerned?
Okay, the last primaries we had before the recent one, where Honorable Philip Baswa emerged as the winner, there were some issues here and there, and we all know that during the run-up to the election proper for 2020, not everybody, and what the achievements of the independent candidate Kwekudia was because of the division we had in our party, and we believe that now that everybody has come on the table and we all understand that we are one party and we are united for one cause, I believe that yes, the emergence of the independent candidate will be something of the past. Yes.
So assuming come this, Tuesday the electors vote for you in Kumawu to become their member of parliament, what new thing are you bringing on board to the people of Kumawu?
So I am bringing servant leadership. I am coming in to serve my people. I'm not coming to lord over them, and that is something that I've promised the people of Kumawu. And I am coming with new ideas. The ideas that I'm bringing on the table, people understand it very well, and I believe that that is the change that I want to. I want to come and serve my people. I don't want to come and lord over them, and I want to listen to them more. And that is something I'm committed to doing for now. Yes.
You may have your own plans in terms of the socio-economic plans that you have for the people of Kumawu. Can you fill me in some of the plans that you have for the people?
I have a number of good plans, but we are just running to our rally, and I wouldn't have enough time to run through all of them. But in terms of agriculture, in terms of our road infrastructure, we have issues. We have issues in unemployment in the constituency. So those are areas that I have very good plans to tackle, and I believe that once the good people of Kumawu give me the mandate, I'll be able to execute all of the plans that I have. Yeah.
Our chances is very great. We're going to win this election. As you can see, it's not going to be a marginal win. It's going to be a landslide victory, because Kumawu is ready to make history.
Today the president was here, the vice and other persons within government were all here to campaign for the NPP's candidate. NPP pulled massive crowd here at Kumawu earlier today. I'm seeing your campaign. You've done 2 separate campaigns here today. Comparing the crowd to yours, don't you think your numbers are not as encouraging as the NPP's numbers?
I mean, this is political gimmicks that the NDC used to play ages ago. You saw the numbers and you saw the buses. So let's not misplace those facts. There's a lot of buses that came from Kumasi. So if you bus people here, you can tickle yourself and have a laugh. You saw our rally. The one in Oyuko, the one in Botmasi. These are indigents. There are no buses around here. You can turn your cameras around. These are indigents who are going to force and effect this change. And it was the same in Oyuko. The NPP can tickle themselves and have a laugh by busing people to deceive people that they have the crowd. At the end of the day, come Tuesday, Kumawu is going to rewrite history in the constituency.
Looking at the numbers from the previous elections, it looks like the NPP has always given the NDC margins when it comes to the votes that the NPP is able to acquire in this constituency. What makes this time different?
What makes the difference is we've handed an opportunity to the NPP party as a constituency. And at this moment, for 28 good years, we've realized the NPP party does not have anything good for this constituency. And this time around, unfortunately for them, NDC has a candidate in myself, Kosia Mankwa, who is an advocate for change, who is a visionary, who is ready to develop Kumawu. And now my message is going down. The youth of Kumawu especially are ready for this change, and they are backing this change, and they are ready to rewrite history. And we're going to rewrite history. That's why the data that's there is going to be rewritten.
We are seeing an improvement in road facilities and other infrastructure within the Kumawu constituency, and the NPP have been touting this achievement today at their rally. What is your message to your people, especially concerning people who are being convinced by the development that they are seeing?
After 28 years, if this is all MPP can boast of, I mean, it's just pathetic. And aside from that, I take pride in what is happening because we stood up against the MPP. We are not even in parliament yet. We stood up and we are advocating for development in Kumawu, and this is what they can do to show. And this is what they can boast about after 28 years. This shoddy roads, I mean, development is development. They must as well do better roads. We deserve better. And the youth of Kumawu and Bodumase are crying out for better development, better lifestyles. We deserve better. We have a beautiful constituency. And the MPP cannot keep throwing dust over our eyes. So we're going to effect this change, whether they like it or they don't.
To us who voted and who are from this constituency, everybody knew that I won that election. And for that reason, I was bent on going to court to seek redress. Well, some movements went on and they came and apologized through the Omanyene. He's my grandfather. So when he called me, I obliged. When they approached me that, hey, we want to know what you're going to do, they knew I was the right person to go. That's why they approached me in the first place. They should have asked me to go uncontested. And I told them that. I said, listen, if I contest with anybody, I will lose. Why? Because I don't have anybody to vote for me. So we leave it to the people to decide whom they trust, whom they can trust, whom they think can deliver for them. And I'm doing it with my own money, with my own resources. So do you think if the government gives me something for developmental project within the constituency or the community, I'm going to blow it? No, I'll use it for that purpose.
Nobody has ever consulted myself or any member of my campaign team that my logo resembles that of the other independent candidates, so therefore they might be confused during the election. I was a bit baffled, but, with humility, I concurred with the EC. And then the EC went on and gave me a who. We didn't have any agreement on that. Probably maybe I could have chosen another symbol for mine, but they didn't. What happened was that they wrote me a letter, and I replied. When I replied, I gave them another sketch with a gold outline. That was sketch number 1. And then I gave them a second sketch with a light blue outline. Dr. Sibo Kweku explained to them that the EC was waiting for my reply, and they didn't get any reply. They didn't get any reply from mine. And so, therefore, they've gone ahead to choose, the who for me as my symbol. So I didn't agree, and I opposed. But they said that they are being backed by constitutional instruments and all that, so there was nothing that I could do with it. My ardent followers and supporters had advised me that they are not there to look at symbols to vote. They only know Kwakudia to be occupying the number 4 on the ballot. And come 23rd May, they are going to do the needful for me. So as it stands now, I've moved forward with the symbols issue, and I'm not holding any grudge against the issue. All the people who are allowed in Kumawu are not Kumawu residents. They don't even vote there. They don't even understand, the political dynamics in the town. So people can go about mounting platforms with MPs from various regions, busing supporters from various parts of Ghana to Kumawu just to be loud with party paraphernalia and all that, and making all those noises. But at the end of the day, the Kumawu people know who the true indigent and the true son of Kumawu is, and that is me. We are the fourth candidate. So me, I'm not that loud. So me, I'm touching base with my people, and I'm trying to find out their, pertinent issues that is affecting them in their communities, and I am also trying to find solutions to them.
So you heard from the 4 candidates in the Kumawu by-election. Like I mentioned, we are large and in charge. We are on the ground. This is your election headquarters, and we've got all the angles covered. With me in studio, I've got Joseph Akable and Kofi J. Joseph is with our political desk. Kofi J is with our research desk. He's our in-house data analyst, and they've got some interesting analysis up for you. Nana Aljima is on the ground for us, and we've got a couple others who are also on the ground for us. But let me just find out from Joseph and Kofi now what they have to share with us. Gentlemen, you are welcome. Thank you for joining me on the AM show.
Thank you, Bernice.
I haven't had the two of you at the same time, so it's good to have you here. Kumawu by-election is interesting, the kind of rhetoric around the whole thing, especially in the 2 independent candidates, and how the dynamics are likely to change for Mr. Kweku Dua, who contested in the 2020 elections and came quite close to Philip Baswa, who passed away, and what the introduction of this new independent candidate may do to him. What do you have to share, guys?
Well, so we first start with the profiling of the candidate. So on the touch screen, let's start with the first candidate, NS Yao Enim, and I'm sure Akable will have a lot to say about NS Yao Enim.
Yes. He's the NPP candidate for the area. We know that following the death of Philip Baswa, he contested the primaries and won. He had competition. In fact, more than 4 individuals contesting that particular primaries, but fortunately for him, he emerged victorious, and he will be the MPP's candidate on the ballot this morning.
Right, so next is the NDC's candidate, Akwesi Amankwa, who says that he has all it takes to actually, compete with NS Yao Enim and other candidates.
He's not new to the race. He contested in 2020. Unfortunately, he was nowhere close to, in terms of being a front runner, because of the contest between Philip Baswa and Kweku Dua the first.
So there was a division, actually.
We can decide to refer to him that we're going for.
Absolutely.
Kweku Dua the first, So Kwesi Amankwa came in 3rd, actually. But this time around, he thinks that he can make a bit of difference representing the NDC and bring the force of the NDC to bear in this particular exercise.
So then, Kweku Dua the first.
I like that. Kweku Dua the first.
let's analyze Kweku Dua.
I mean, he's the one that people have made connection between him and the governing New Patriotic Party. We know that in terms of the electoral, we'll look at the data closely, but he came 2nd, about 11,000 votes, lost to Baswa about 14,000 thereabout, and he is very confident that because of what happened in the 2020 polls, he stands in pole position to win the election. In fact, for many analysts, they think that it's a race between NS Yao Enim and Kweku Dua the first, but we'll see how this particular one
But do you think Kweku Dua is actually grieved? Because I learned he's a former member of the party.
I mean, the thing about people disagreeing and going independent always is that it has the potential of having some persons who may not be happy with either the party in power or with the party machinery, how they are running things. It tends to play in their favor. And for a by-election too, there's always the danger of voter apathy. By-election generally in Ghana, they don't record a lot of voter turnouts like we see in the general elections. And so all of that could play in his favor. But yes, he has his own issues with the governing party, with the connections that we have fair people make, and he will hope that all of that plays to his advantage and sees him emerge victorious.
Now, the reason I'm so particular on Kweku Dua is that if you look at the data, for instance, there seems to be some nice trend analysis when you check from 1996 to 2020. You realize that Kumawu is more or less like the sweet bed for independent candidates. So when we get to that data, we'll check, but let's look at Kweku Dua the second. Does he have any resemblance when you compare him to the first? Is he, like...
I mean, I think the closest we can see is they are both independent candidates, obviously. One is clearly younger, the other is way older. But in terms of their outlook, there was an initial notice of poll that we saw, both of them with a kente. Then in terms of their symbol, they had a bed, but looking different directions. And we heard in that report that played a short while ago, Kwekudua number 2 complaining about the fact that the EC had changed the symbol to a hole now, and he said that they had contacted him. The EC had explained that they had engaged him and asked him to change it, and he was not being forthcoming or agreeing with them, and so the EC opted to choose the symbol for him. I don't know what that means for. I mean, if assuming you're going to vote, are you looking for the individual, the name, the party, independent, or the symbol?
Or probably the picture.
The picture.
Because I know the person by face. So if I know the person by face, then I do not care the symbol or Bennett, if you have any.
I know it's interesting, and gentlemen, the other thing was they're all in Kinte. Yeah. And it's it was said that it could confuse the electorate.
I think the name is more confusing, actually. I think that's where the big problem is.
So which Kwekudua are you voting for? Yeah. Well, let's go to Kumawu now. Nanaya Ojima is there for us. Hello, Nanaya. What's Kumawu like this morning? I believe election has started in all polling stations. What can you report?
Benis, Kumawu is very, very calm this morning. People going about their normal duties. Those who are ready to vote are already in the queue in the various polling stations, casting their ballots. Presently, I am at the Liberation polling station where they're expecting over 700 people to turn up to cast their ballot. Already, according to the Electoral Commission, about 40 of the 700 electorates that are being expected to show up here have been here to go through the process and cast their ballots. But going through town, a lot of the young people, the youth, have not shown much interest in today's election. There are a lot of them who are idling about and seeking their opinions or speaking to them about whether they are ready to cast their ballot today. Some of them are not sure of coming to these polling stations to cast their ballots. There are some of them who tell me that they would want to wait till the afternoon to go join the queue and cast their ballot. Most of the polling stations that I've visited are near empty, but looking at the Liberation polling station, things are a little bit different. I've seen, or you can see in your shot, a number of some people who have lined up, going through the process, and they are hoping to pass all the stages and cast their ballots here today. There are 75 different polling stations in the Kumawu constituency, and the most populated areas include Kumawu town itself, Seche, Bodomase, and Besro. These are the very populated areas within the Kumawu constituency, and Kumawu itself has 11 polling stations here within Kumawu, and the Liberation polling station is one of them. Before coming here, I had been to the Yaojase polling station, where about 30 people out of the 334 people that are on the voter register had shown up to cast their ballots. So I would want to engage a few of the people in the queue and seek their opinions, and also ask them why they are here early this morning, because going through, even though the polls have started, the enthusiasm among the people is not as high as expected within the Kumawu constituency. Papa, mamunu ndi nkomo kakra ene waba ahantem edi entina waba antem sa oye eli
mbeto aba
say ebe go through till 5 waba antem edi ase ahokika no so
nite waba dia me ankasa me pente ba kwaye maduma entina maba hantem.
So he is telling me that from here he would go to work. So he had to come early, cast his ballot, and go to where he has, or go through his duties today. So, Mami no ndin komo kakra and wabantem no they be saying out about na say any different.
But train different. If you say pese me kwa adwuma ti me pentem akọ ti na mama ba entem sa.
Also, unam kroma I say nipa awon kan nhyɛ da ni suru krom sa na hu ne sa.
Ba dodo na abepia ba beto aba no ene. Omo wa adwuma ye on say na Tuesday. To obi abekɔ adwuma. So omo mpesa omo to ne de dodo na ebe penentem na omo to aba no.
Na woni wunuanom ene wayonkofo di nkoma. Ohwe aba no ye nipa dodo beto aba.
Pa ombe pia aba beto aba ne pa. Ombeto. Just say ye na enu krum. If you say oto aba ne we say okofie. Na ankofa ntokwa bia ama obi a kire na adwen. Nti na ama ye to aba ne ntentem sa.
So according to her, she has work. So from here, she'll be moving to work. That's why she's here very early to cast her ballot and continue with the day's activities. And I asked her about the enthusiasm in town. And according to her, there are a number of people still within their homes. And they, from interaction with friends and relatives, they will come cast their ballot here today. So she believes that the voter turnout will still be high, despite today being a Tuesday, a working day. So that is the interaction I've been having with her. If you go to the polling stations, at least every polling station has 3 to 4 policemen within the polling station. So almost all of the 75 polling stations will have 4 policemen protecting the ballot here in the Kumawu constituency. Already they are coming to Kumawu or going through the constituency. There are a number of policemen on the ground, high police presence. The IGP is also in town. Other top officers within the Ghana Police Service are all in town here to ensure that the election is conducted peacefully within the Kumawu constituency. So by 5 p.m., according to the EC, the whole process should cease for counting to begin. So by the time that they are giving us today, by 8 p.m., it's very likely that provisional results will be out.
Jima, it's still quite early, and the concerns about voter apathy will make a lot of sense much later. But as Joseph and Kofi intimated, it usually is the case when you have by-elections, people don't come out to vote as in the general elections. I'll leave it here with you, Nanaya, but we'll leave you to gather more reactions and also follow up on any major happenings in Kumawu as the by-election is underway. Back in the studio, Joseph and Kofi. So we've established who the candidates are and over the years what they've been able to build for themselves in terms of their chances of winning the seat. But you guys have more for us, right?
Yeah. Well, Joe, we've also been looking at the turnout, for instance. Yeah. We know by-elections are supposed to be a sample of, what will happen in the general election, probably 2024. It's supposed to give us a picture. So looking at the, I think, 34,000 voters that are supposed to turn out, what do you think the turnout will be? Will it going to be high or low, looking at other previous by-elections?
I mean, it's not going to go anywhere close to the 2020 elections, and that is very dangerous. And you heard the woman that Nanaya interacted with make the point that it's a Tuesday as well. In fact, in terms of the general elections, we have always made a case of wanting to push it to the first Saturday in December or
a weekend.
A weekend, just to make time for people to come and vote. And so in the first place, by elections, people generally don't want to vote. And one of the reasons that we can advance for it is being the fact that there's no presidential election. There are a lot of people who go in to vote because of the added perk of choosing a president. And so it attracts a lot of people. The party uses its machinery. The presidential candidate also uses its own machinery to get people onto the polling centers to vote. And so there's that challenge. What is dangerous for the turnout and the outcome is the fact that you are looking at a situation where this gentleman had somewhere around 11,000.
Could you add the first?
You have this gentleman who has come in to replace Philip Baswa, who had just about 14,000. What it logically means is that anytime the voter turnout goes down, it's likely that their votes will also logically be going down. So the question becomes, whose elected camp is gaining and who's losing? Whose people are not showing up to vote? And so it is in the interest of all of them, and that's how it came as no surprise that during the rallies by the two main parties over the weekend, they were all making the point that people need to come out in their numbers to vote, because they all know that if people do not show up, then it's dangerous for anyone. It means everyone is blindsided.
So the last election, the 2020 election, the NDC candidate came third. And that was because there was a certain, independent candidate was competing keenly with the NPP person. Let's look at the data and look at what I'm trying to say. So right from 1996 to 2020, you could see that 2020 is the only year that the NDC had a single digit in terms of percentage or share of the total, votes that was actually cast that day. So let's analyze that as well.
I mean, it clearly tells you that Kwesi Amankwa may not be a strong candidate as he may think himself to be. And I mean, yes, you see it all being being NPP.
So it's a safe seat for the NPP.
But we know that in 1992, NDC had the seat only because, unlike 1992 is a very unique year from
probably an outlier.
Yes, because the presidential election was organized before the parliamentary elections. Very unusual. We don't have that anymore. So after the presidential elections, the NPP boycotted the parliamentary posting. So that is how come the NDC got the seat. But since then, it's been one way going. And like you made reference to, the 8.33% here by the NDC. It clearly shows that the NDC is not very strong, at least per their last terminal report that we have here. But we also see the NPP compare 2016 to 2020 as well.
That's a huge decline.
Yes.
More than 30 percentage points drop from where it was in 2016.
I mean, if you go to 96, you can easily explain to say that it was their first time winning it. So I mean, it was initial steps.
And the upward projection has been very consistent from 61 to 72 to 74, 82. Then they drop in 2012 to 78. Then in 2016, they pick up 81 back to a level where they were in 2008. And in 2016, the unique case happened, probably because of the independent candidate.
Yes, right? Yes, that's a big problem. And it's important that this is the second time Kumawu are having a by-election. Actually, there was Rio Adai Basua. That should be between this period.
Yeah.
So maybe that could also account for that because he had done the 2 terms, then was doing in the 3rd term when he died. So
you have some interesting, analysis on Rio, the Basuas.
Yes,
we'll do that one. But let's also analyze the NDC, their chance in this election, from 38 to 8. Same thing, more than 30 percentage points drop.
Except if you look closely between 08 and 12.
There was an upward.
It declined to 16.1. Then it went up a bit. Then came down.
So irregularities and fluctuations in terms of the percentage they get.
Even though they are at the bottom anyways.
Yeah. So you could actually relate this or correlate this with what Mahama got in Kumawu. So Akufo-Addo got around, I think, 80%, Mahama 18%. Yeah. And Mahama had gone back to the 15% and the 13% zone. And in 2020, he improved from what he got in 2016.
Yes.
Nana Addo also improved as well.
Yes.
But the parliamentary candidate failed to follow in line.
And if you put President Akufo-Addo's vote against Philip Basua's vote, you see clearly that Akufo-Addo did way better than Philip Basua. And so it tells you, again, the picture that I'm seeing is that it appears Kumawu, yes, is NPP, but if they have reason to not go NPP in terms of the parliament.
Probably if an independent candidate who is a former NPP member
comes in, it changes the mix entirely. That is right. Yeah.
So let's do the Basua analysis and try and see right from 1996 to 2020.
Yeah, so we have Rio Adai Basua, NPP. He had 15,000 votes. Then he again, Rio Adai Basua. Then he dies while doing that particular term. So a by-election, Yauban retains the seat for the NPP. Then 2012, Philip Basua comes in. Philip Basua is actually a nephew of Rio Adai Basua.
Oh, wow.
So before even the by-election, people had made a point that Kumawu was synonymous to Basuas because of the long periods that they were in office. Then, so Philip Basua continued again, and it was during his 3rd term that, unfortunately, he died, and we've had to do the by-election again. So we can again look at the votes: 15, 13, then 19, 15, 18, 21, 14. That looks inconsistent.
Let's check the percentage, because I feel that tells a better story.
Right.
So look at Rio Basua, for instance. He started with 49. And before he died, he had actually improved from 49 to 57. What actually accounted for that?
I mean, I think generally is the fact that I always say that the 96 is key because it was a starting point. So the first time the party went in there to test the strengths, they managed to obtain the seat. Then now he needs to consolidate to make it an NPP stronghold. So, I mean, logically, the NPP to again, 96 to 2000, NPP is in opposition trying to get into power. So that also explains the wind of change and everything all plays into his favor. It goes up to 57. You go to 04, NPP again. NPP 1 is in power, seeking re-election. He managed to take it to 70%. So now you can safely say at this point that Kumawu has been established as a safe seat of the NPP, especially because it sits in Ashanti region, which we know to be the stronghold of the NPP.
Yeah, so if you look at the data, it's only Yao Ban and Philip Basua who were able to push the share into the 70% zone, right?
I suspect if Rio Adai Basua had done another
term,
maybe it would have gone up than that. And I'm saying that simply because of the 96 dynamic and the 2001. So that shows how it went. But then we look at Basua again, 56, then he goes to 68, then goes to 78. So he's quite a good candidate, you say?
Well, I think he's a good candidate, but if you look at the drop, because it doesn't matter who is contesting you, if you are good, you should be good, and it should maintain the level you were the previous year. But to drop from 78 to 51, don't you think there's something significant in it?
Well, also because we know that there was someone who defected from the party he belongs to, and so definitely there will be some persons who sympathize with the party who would now say, well, I support the other candidate, who would then become independent. That could be the reason why the percentage dropped from 78 to 51%. But I'll leave you guys to digest on that briefly. I need to go back to Kumawu, and Nana Boakye Yadom is there for us. He's joining us from a different polling station. Hello, Nana, what's happening where you are? Well, too bad we lost him there. So back to what we were discussing, the impact of Kweku Dua's decision to go independent during the 2020 elections and how it possibly affected the late Philip Basua.
Well, so do you think what happened in probably Fomena will play out in this election, or you still think that the NPP have a strong chance to maintain a seat?
I think NPP starts the race having the upper hand. I would have safely predicted an NPP win, but my fear is the voter turnout still. Because that is an unknown that we all can't control.
That's the basic factor.
Yeah, I mean, it changes everything completely. If they are unable to get people to show up to vote in their numbers, it leaves the race open and gives Kweku Dua the first a very good shot at turning this one into some of the other interesting by-elections that we'll be telling you about a bit later on. And
based on what you've just shared, seeing that it is dominantly a constituency that sympathizes or votes with persons belonging to the NPP, then you would also say that, well, Kweku Dua the first, that's how we've chosen to name him, may have gone independent in the 2020 elections, but may still have people within the NPP who may support him, who may want to give him the chance and their vote. But again, like you say, it will all play out at the end of the day. Let me go back to Kumawu when Nana Boakye Yadom is there for us. Hello, Nana. What's happening where you are?
There's something very, very surprising I've witnessed during the NPP.
Sorry, Nana, I can't hear a thing you're saying. Could you reposition yourself so you could sound clearer?
Can you hear me now?
Much better, much better.
Okay, so I was something surprising is happening here. Quite similar to what we witnessed during the NDC primaries at the draft session, where currently we just got close to a house. We saw several voters here rushing into the building. I was quite curious. Entering, I realized that it was voters being given and vote.
Sorry, Nana. I don't know what device you're using, but I could hear you initially, and then I lost you again. You're talking about people rushing into a certain house.
Can you hear me now, Bennett?
Yes. Keep it this way.
So, we have several voters here, and then they are claiming that they are being their votes are being bought by the new patriotic party candidates. We can see some of them rushing into a particular building here, going for. I have one gentleman here with me. He has both ID cards, and he has some claims.
Nana, sorry, we'll have to come back to you because it appears to be quite an interesting scene you're describing. I can't hear you. You sound clear, and then we just lose you again. So would kindly allow the technicians to deal with that so we can get a clearer picture of what you're trying to paint. I think I just heard him talk about a certain group of people rushing into a certain building, but from there, I totally lost him. Interesting times. When it comes to politics, anything is possible, isn't it, gentlemen? But we were talking about the impact Kwekudia the First will have as an independent candidate against Ernest Yawenim, who is representing the NPP. But then again, there is the other Kwekudia, who is another independent candidate, and some have suggested that he was introduced to confuse people, to split the votes of Kwekudia the First. We don't know how it will play out. Well, is the electorate as ignorant as such people will try to put it? Do you get my point? Like, we try to make it look like somebody just hears a name and will get to the voting booth and say, okay, which Kwekudia is it? That is a possibility, right? But for people who would turn out in a by-election like this, as we've seen over the years, are people who are really interested in voting, right? And so they would know the person. I don't know what you guys think about the introduction of the second Kwekudia and whether that could affect the chances of Kwekudia the First.
I mean, in typical, not very literate areas, if I'm allowed to put it that way, the voting is very simple. I mean, the umbrella. I mean, it's sometimes in those simple things.
Very simple.
Then there are those who simply go in and they look out for the names. And that's why I still maintain that what will be key here is the names more than anything else. Again, maybe his strategy would be to inform people that, look, I'm the older Kwekudia that you're coming into vote for.
Yeah, but don't you think the picture will make a difference, or the pictures will make some difference?
That is to suggest that every voter would know them by face, which I doubt.
But Bernice, if you really want someone, then I'm sure you may know the person by face, right?
But you know there are a lot of floating voters, right? I know a story of somebody who said when they were going to vote the first time, they didn't know who to vote for. And someone said, oh, vote for this person. They just mentioned the name, and then the person said, okay, let me just go and vote for that person. So there are people like that. And that's why I'm saying that we have established, though, that in by-elections, you usually wouldn't have that certain group of apathetic people who have a laissez-faire attitude towards the voting. You would have people who are really bent on voting. And so those people are likely to know who they want to vote for and what the person looks like.
I agree with that. It's a different voter mix than the general elections where you can have every other person, including those someone who said that, Charlie, let's go, then he just joins and votes. So that could well play to the favor of all the candidates, because it means that it's likely that those who are coming in will know who they are voting for. I personally do not think that Kwekudia number 2 will do too well. I think he will be slugging it out with Kwesi Amankwa. But the NDC too have done some very good work there. Yesterday I saw photographs and videos of Dr. Kwabena Dufo. He's from Kumawu.
Well, is there any relation with this gentleman, Kwesi Amankwa?
I'm told they are related a bit distant, but there's some kind of relation. That's how come he's been moving around the Kumawu area with him and where he's from as well. I saw a picture of Dr. Dufo with NDC chairman Johnson Esedu Nketia and the General Secretary Fifi Kwete campaigning for Kwesi Amankwa. John Mahama was also in the area. He took Kwesi Amankwa to the chiefs as well. And so I don't know whether that will be able to change things in favor of the NDC. I do not think that the NDC has been very upfront as they do in other elections with understanding that we are going in to win it. I think they know clearly that it will be very difficult. And they are banking their hopes on what will take place between Kwekudia 1 and Ernest Yawenim, and hoping that
will turn out.
That will work out for them. But gentlemen, you know what I would like us to do? Let's just fast forward a bit, like move ahead out of Kumawu and see the dynamics in Parliament as we speak. And why this is such a big deal for the two major parties, right? So the NDC has lost the seat. And Joseph, you broke that story from the Supreme Court.
The parliamentary makeup as we speak now is 136. 136 because filibuster is 136 plus 1. Then you have 136. 135. Is it
135 plus 1 for the NPP? The 136 for the NDC.
NDC, yes. So I mean that alone is very interesting. It means that depending on the outcome here, it may change things a bit in terms of the parliamentary makeup. And I was telling Winston earlier on the Super Morning Show about the fact that, let's see this weird case, Kwekudia wins and says is going to do business with the NDC?
Well,
that puts them at 136.
Exactly, and
Then
that will
there's,
make the where Jachi question is coming from, the by-election, if there will be, very crucial then.
Yes.
Because that will also be a key determinant.
Yes,
then.
and that particular seat, we also know that the Asin North one is not a it's what you can tag as swing to an extent.
Very swing.
Yeah, it's not a
swing
typical NDC or NPP seat. And so that also makes it dangerous. And so what is happening at Kumawu, depending on the outcome, could potentially, and what happens at Asin North, we could potentially have reorganization of parliament of sorts. I mean, some will have to move to that.
Interesting days ahead, gentlemen. We've been joined by Mustafa Agbandi. He is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. He joins us via phone. Welcome to the AM show, sir. So my colleagues and I were just discussing what the outcome of this election will mean for both the NDC and the NPP. It appears that over the years, the NPP has a dominance in this constituency. How confident are you of winning this particular election, and what gives you that confidence, if you have it?
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. Basically, we have to start a conversation from the fact that we are dealing with a traditional NPP stronghold. But if you look at the antecedents of development in terms of government intervention, the NPP today, led by Nana Akufo-Addo, have nothing to show in that constituency. The only existing infrastructure of water is an intervention under His Excellency Mahama.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. If you can speak up a little, it will be better.
I'm saying that you are dealing with a government that is coming into a by-election at this stronghold with a bad faith. They've got nothing to show. They are not speaking about development. They keep on with their, sloganeering approach and engage in vote buying. But we have come to
that's a serious allegation. Why do you...
I am telling you, let them come and refute it. They are sharing money. They are engaged in vote buying and sharing of goodies.
But Mr. Gbande, if please, sorry, permit me to interject here. If giving out money is equal to vote buying, then a lot of that happened during the NDC's elections. Do we know exactly what these monies are being given to the candidates for?
That was a parliamentary election by a party in opposition. As far as ethical adherence and compliance is concerned, the government empower us to exercise ethical compliance with election issues.
So for you, it's okay if it happens in an internal elections?
We didn't do that. We didn't even do that. So
no, but we know. But the reason why I'm asking for specifics is that we know that during the NDC's elections, flag bearer now, former President John Mahama, gave out some monies for transportation for delegates. And can you share more details with us? Basically, that's all I'm asking. When you just say vote buying.
I wasn't in the campaign team of His Excellency John Dramani.
That's fair enough. I'm just asking you, when you say vote buying, what exactly do you mean specifically?
They are sharing money. The Chief of Staff, Rima Apari, came to share money. The regional chairman of the NPP is sharing money. Appointees and ministers in this government is sharing money. They have virtually relocated the entire government machinery into Kumawu in an area that predominantly is perceived to be their stronghold. So why on earth will you have a wife that when your wife is going outside, then you are worried? It means you are irresponsible. They are afraid that they haven't done anything, and we have come to showcase what we have done. In fact, we have a goodwill with even the late MP's family, to the extent that even in the funeral, the day of the burial, the MPP, in the presence of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, was engaged in campaign in the funeral. That is who these people are. And so we are telling the people of Kumawu that, listen, if you go to Chebi, where His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo is coming from, it's full of free Wi-Fi. But Ashanti region is where the MPP gets the votes from. But in Ashanti region, We don't even have a better communication network. We don't have internet. But you have internet and free Wi-Fi in an area where they do not give you majority of their votes. And so that message is what we are carrying on. So far, I think relatively it's been a very peaceful exercise between the NDC and the NPP. I think Kumawu, if we all discipline ourselves, is going to be one of the most peaceful by-elections ever held. Civilization have set in, except to say our brothers in the NPP cannot be trusted. Once they realize that they will not win, they will try their violence again. Yesterday we had inter-party meeting with the Ghana Police Service, and we agreed with the modalities of operation that this election would not involve the military. The national security has no role in this election except other security institutions that, for the purposes of intelligence gathering, will deploy people who will not have a direct role as far as election policing is concerned. And so we are relieved and assured by that from the police. We also agreed that there is nothing like private security. So the entire security arrangement is in the hands of the police. If the police stay by their word and their assurance, we should have a very peaceful election. The Electoral Commission is prepared. Initially, there were some questions that we have put to the Electoral Commission over vote compilation form that they produced. They omitted some things that we think were grievous to the calculation of the results. But that have been sorted out and everything is under control. We have started the election peacefully. If it continues like this, the NDC coming to Kumawu, our objective has partially been achieved and will achieve total objective in the evening. Our partial objective, which has been achieved, is that it is clear that government have lost popularity in its own stronghold, which is why it is engaged in vote buying. 2, it is further exposing this government, involvement in corruption by sharing tax people's money to buy votes. On the contrary, telling Ghanaians that there is no money in Ghana. That has also been very grounded. Number 3, it gives us enough strategic information that will guide us into 2024 general elections. That is what we are very happy about.
And those are some serious allegations you make there of vote buying. And I'd just like to say that those are Mustafa Bandi's allegations. And we will seek a response from the New Patriotic Party on that. You talk about sharing of money during a visit by the Vice President and the President to the community, and which for you translates into vote buying. You also allege that they use taxpayers' money for that. I mean, that is you. Those are your words, which we will try to verify and get. Pardon?
Come and refute it that they are not engaged in vote buying. But I'm telling you that they are engaged in vote buying. The NPP is not campaigning. All they are doing here is to be engaged in an exercise of vote buying.
Right. Mr. Bandi, I'll just have you hold on. Let me go to Kumawu again. My colleague, Nana Boachi-Yadom, has joined us again. Hopefully the line is clear. And Nana, you were describing to us a certain scene involving people running into a particular house. So the line was too bad. We didn't get the gist of what you were trying to communicate. What exactly happened? Hello? Hello, Nana Yao. Nana Boachi. Well, we still seem to have a challenge with that line. Hello, Nana Boachi. Well, if you just joined us, this is the AM show, and it's our comprehensive coverage of the Kumawu by-election. My colleagues Joseph Akable and Kofi Ejia with me in studio. They've run us through who the candidates for this particular by-election are. 4 of them, the NPP's Ernest Ayim, the NDC's Kwesi Amankwa, and Kweku Dua, who we've chosen to call Kweku Dua the first, who is an independent candidate who participated in the 2020 elections and defected from the NPP, and then Kweku Dua the second, who just joined this particular by-election, and he is also an independent candidate. We've been trying to focus on the constituency, zero into the figures and look at how the performance has been over the years for the two major political parties. We've also been trying to establish what the usual voter turnout is during by-elections. And you heard from the guys on the political desk and research team that it usually doesn't compare to the general elections. For by-elections, there usually is a lower voter turnout. And so we'll see how it plays out. We've also been on the ground. We've spoken to Nanaya Ojima, who is on the ground for us. We have about 4 men in Kumawu for us to monitor the elections. And there he reported in some polling stations where there were good numbers as of this morning, but for many of the people he met on the streets, they were quite apathetic about the whole process. We will go back to Joseph and Kofi to continue in the analysis. Gentlemen, before we go to all the data we have, it's interesting, the case of vote buying that has been brought in by Mr. Mustafa Bande, who is still on the line, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, where he suggests that this is a national election of a sort involving more than one party. It's not an internal election. And so when you bring in the issue of money sharing, it is more problematic than it is when you have an internal election. I don't know how you guys perceive
I think
that.
bribery is bribery, and it's problematic whether it is internal elections or outside. And it's for that reason why one of the NDC candidates, I think in the Ashanti region, the one who was filmed on video spraying cars.
Yes.
I mean, she's been invited by the special prosecutor. Yeah. I think generally the political parties, in principle, commit to the fact that they are against all forms of vote buying. I mean, it's an allegation that he's made. I understand at some point we'll be hearing from the NPP on this particular matter. We don't know what is happening, but we know that someone like the special prosecutor will be monitoring this particular exercise. What we've not seen over the period is for such a matter to be followed through by way of investigations, then prosecution, and perhaps conviction, to send a strong signal to those who engaged in it that this is something that we abhor. The challenge with it generally is the fact that it tends to be carried out by very powerful people in society. And so the investigators need a bit of that will, maybe political will, if I can put it that way, to go out there after them. But Mr. Bande's allegations, very interesting. That is why I was keen on understanding what was happening at the house that our reporter was saying people were running over to. I don't know the relationship between his allegation and that particular house.
Exactly.
About it. So unless we are able to establish that, we'll know what to do about
Definitely, and that's an important point you make, because we're still trying to establish a good connection with Nana Boakye. We need to get the full scope of what he was trying to communicate to us.
Well, but it looks as if vote buying or allegations is actually a key element in most of the by-elections we've seen. Yes. The same allegations were leveled during the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election, right? So why do we have this probably during by-elections?
I mean, it happens in the general election, just that in the by-election, because the people know very well that, I mean, it's not a place that you are going to, people may not show up to vote. So they try and send all the resources there. Again, it does not even just take place in terms of cash. There's another form of vote buying that we see it in terms of projects being delivered around that time. I mean, we saw Ayawaso West Wogon, late night, days before the election taking place, roads were being tarred. We saw that again at Kumawu as well. The same thing happening, roads being tarred. I heard the roads minister explain that, look, it has nothing to do with the by-election. But I mean, for those in the areas, Nana Ojima filed a report from Kumawu where residents were saying that they've come and they are fixing the roads. And so that is also another form of vote buying that we can also look at beyond the monetary aspect. But it simply takes place because it is a system. And you've heard people say sometimes, like during primaries, they say that it is a cocoa season for delegates. This is also the cocoa season for voters. Unfortunately, it's something that is not good. It's unfortunate, and we have to move away from it.
Gentlemen, I'll come back to you to wrap up on the data analysis. But let's go back to Kumawu because my colleague is standing by with Richard Ahiagba. And I would like for him, Ohiming-Teria, if you can hear me, I have Mustafa Bande on the line. He is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, and he's been making some allegations of vote buying against the NPP. He alleges that the Chief of Staff, Fremont Pariose, has been involved in that. Can you find out from Mr. Ahiagba what his response is to that, and then you can continue with your interaction with him?
Thank you. Indeed, I will be speaking to Mr. Richard Ahiagba, the Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party. Let me find out from him. It is true. Why is the New Patriotic Party sharing money at the voting centers?
Well, thank you very much. That is news to me. We're doing no such thing, so I'm not sure who is saying that and what evidence they have for that. That's not happening, and I'm not sure why anybody will fabricate something like that.
You say it is not true?
I don't have any evidence of that, and that is not part of our operation. We don't set up to share money to anybody. How many people can you share money to, and for what reason? Kumawu is our stronghold. We have done what work that the people want, and we're continuing to serve the people the right way. But the idea that we're sharing money, I don't think that that's something that we are doing. I'm not sure who is saying that and what their motives are. Mind you, with the advent of social media, people set up to do any number of things, and then tag a political party that they are doing this or that. But I can assure you that the New Patriotic Party is not organized and sharing money to anybody today anywhere in the Sector Kumawu.
Has this come to your notice as a communications director of the New Patriotic Party?
I'm hearing it from you for the first time, but I can assure you that we don't have any operation such as that. And whoever is saying it, I'm not sure where they're getting that from and what their evidence is.
Heming, let me interject at this point.
I'm not sure if you have any evidence for that.
Heming, if you can hear me.
No, I haven't seen it either. But
Heming, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so just by way of information, the allegation is
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so the allegation by Mr. Bandi is that it happened when the president and the vice president visited Kumawu. But we are just seeing videos from Nana Boachi Yadom, who is in Kumawu with you, where we understand that some 10 CDs have been rejected by voters, and it's coming from agents of the NPP's parliamentary candidate.
Yes, so the information is that the money was shared when the president and the vice president visited Kumawu recently. And then in some polling stations where the NPP had their polling agents, that is where the thing is happening. So would you, as a political party, want to take this matter up?
Well, I mean, the initial question you raised has changed. Now it's as if when somebody came. So that is evidence of, hearsay and fabrication. I can tell you for sure that as far as I'm concerned, involved in our preparations for this election, there is no such thing as part of our operation to say that go and share money to people. We don't have anything like that. So the story has changed that, so these things on election day, and I think that the NDC is here for whatever reason, here to fabricate and say things. I don't know who is giving you this. I have not seen any.
It's coming from the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC.
Well, certainly, so the NDC. So they're here. This is the worst they can do. But I'm telling you that we, the New Patriotic Party, have not set up to share money to anybody. We are not doing that. What we have done from the beginning of this process is to go and canvass people. And we've been here in this constituency from day one. Now, the NDC, I told you, rolled to town last Friday or so, and then appearing to be doing some work here. What they are trying to do is to create mayhem, is to create misinformation, which is their call to fame. And essentially, that's what they are doing. We have been working, and every vote you see attributed to the New Patriotic Party is a vote that we have earned, a vote that we have worked for, and that's what we have done. So we have worked for the vote.
This is a very strong allegation to accuse your opponents of being here to cause mayhem and trouble.
Well, I'm saying, but look at what fabrication is coming out. My good brother saying that we're sharing money. Where's the evidence? The last time when they were in their internal elections, they were spraying money on top of cars. We didn't fabricate it. They did it by their own act. Everybody saw what they were doing. Now, without evidence, just to speak the word and say they're sharing money, that's their MO. That's the MO they came to town with, to kind of create doubt, create confusion about the election and all of that. We have been here. What I want to give you as a proof, and to all the viewers on the multimedia platforms, is to say that we have been in town. I have been here going on 3 weeks. Why will I be here for 3 weeks only to come and share money tomorrow? Then I would have stayed home like the NDC did and show up in town and then and hope to be able to buy vote. We have worked for the vote. We have worked for the vote. I'll tell you what time I went to sleep yesterday. I went to sleep this morning at 3 a.m. and I'm here by 6:30. I was here. So I'm letting you understand that we have worked for the vote, and there's no reason why we're going to have to pay for any vote. And I don't think that that is even something that anybody should comprehend, except the NDC can fabricate something like that.
Earlier you talk about the fact that you don't have the capacity, but you are government in power. You have access to the country's resources. Now you have the government machinery here in Kumawu, so perhaps you have the capacity to share money.
No, I don't think I said capacity. So capacity to share money is not even the question. I'm saying that we are not sharing money to anybody.
So are you helping the electorates in terms of providing them with logistics, transportation to the various polling stations? For instance, those who are not in the constituency but they want to take part in today's voting exercise.
Well, we have our own operation. I'm not going to speak to that. But the specific question at issue is people sharing money. That is.
I think we've exhausted that one.
Yeah, so I'm not going to discuss our election strategy with you as we speak. But the key question you raised, I just want to say without mincing words, to say that the New Patriotic Party, we're not sharing money to anybody to go and vote. What we have done is to come here and canvass the people, speak to them, understand what their needs are, present a candidate who is a unifier, who they have embraced and they are going to vote for. We have done that, and we know that by close of day, they will go and vote, and the result will vindicate the position of our campaign.
Is it not surprising to hear that the communications director of a ruling party will go to sleep at 2 a.m. in a constituency that is perhaps a stronghold of his party? Now, this will be a cool chop for you and your party.
Well, we are not people who take things for granted. The idea that you have NDC here should keep you thinking what else they are plotting. And you see, because of that, you can't just go to sleep because you think that is your stronghold. We are interested in making sure we earn the vote. We have worked for it, and one more reason why you should understand that we cannot and we are not going out there trying to buy anybody's vote. We worked for the vote, and we wanted to make sure that everything goes according to plan. In any case, if anything goes wrong in Kumawu, NPP, this is our backyard. Any damage here affects us directly because we believe the vast majority of our people are here, and so we are interested in making sure this election moves on smoothly, and that's why we are keeping wake to ensure that all the arrangements and the organizations are intact, and to ensure that the election today is peaceful, because this is what we have worked for a whole month, and we're just making sure that the last day before the election, everything is where they must be to ensure that victory comes and it comes peacefully for them.
Before I let you go, would you love to hear police say, do you want to suggest to police to even pick up the issue of bribery allegations happening and vote buying happening in the Kumawu constituency? Is it something that you welcome as a party?
Well, we are doing our work. Other people must do their work too. And I'm focused on what we are doing. If people, the security services, observe any infraction, they are at liberty to do their work because we are doing ours.
I see. So, generally, how would you describe the voting processes since it started 7 a.m. today?
Well, so far, so good. I've been to a couple of polling stations. Everything appears to be peaceful. People are falling in line, voting and moving. The polling stations are peaceful. The numbers are building up. And so this is not the first time we're going to an election. The processes are there. The systems are in place. And I was telling an individual who's an NDC agent at a polling station at Botanso, Manguasi polling station. I was telling him that, look, our electoral processes have evolved to where there is absolute confidence, at least near absolute confidence in the processes. So what we need to do as a people is to make sure that the processes, how we shepherd the process is peaceful and allow our citizens to each cast their vote, and in the end we'll tally and see who wins. And so for me, I think that our processes have evolved. What we're expecting today is that those who have the mandate to vote or have the ability to vote should come and vote, and will be counted peacefully, and then the results will be declared for the winner, and I think that winner will be the.
I have learned something new from you. I thought our electoral processes were perfect, but now you are saying that it's near perfection.
Well, you cannot have anything perfect under the sun because we are humans, and so. But if you look at any processes, electoral process compared to what we have in our country, you can be confident to say that our process is near perfection. But there's more we have to do. That is, as time goes on, to see what shortfalls appear, then we'll deal with them. But as we speak this morning, there isn't so much shortfalls that you can attribute to our system. If anything at all, the human factor, the human interaction with the process is what, and that we have agents sufficient in the polling stations to be able to check and make sure that nothing goes wrong or against any particular party's interest. And I think once we do that, our system is foolproof enough for all of us to be confident in that the individuals that will emerge today has emerged because he's the choice of the people.
So, Benis, that has been Mr. Richard Ahiagba, the communications director of the New Patriotic Party, sharing some light on the allegations that the NPP is engaged in vote buying. And you also talked about the fact that NPP as a political party has worked tirelessly and continue to work tirelessly to ensure that it capture the Kumawu constituency seat back. So we are also learning of some happenings in other polling stations, something that we want to take it down from here. So from here we'll continue to Bodomase, Raso, Besro, and other places, including Ananenya.
Definitely, you're hearing Terry there with a team on the ground for us, bringing us some interviews there and also monitoring the situation on the ground. Earlier, my colleague Nana Boachi Yadom reached us and we couldn't hear him clearly. What it is that it appears that some people were rushing into a certain building. We understand that voters are rejecting some amounts of money from persons believed to be agents of the NPP's parliamentary candidate. We'll be following that closely and bring you more. But another interesting thing, I've still got Joseph and Kofi with me doing the analysis here. Gentlemen, and you'll be running us through the historical performance and also that of independent candidates, not in the Kumawu constituency, but generally across the country. But it appears that both parties are beginning to look at the issue of polling agents very seriously. After the 2020 elections, you know, there were issues about some agents signing onto the pink sheet and later coming to register their displeasure and not going through the processes involved of protesting results or concerns with the results. We've seen persons like Samuel Okujetu Ablakwa representing the NDC as a polling agent, and we understand that the NPP has also deployed some DCEs to various polling centers to serve as polling agents. What do you make of these?
Because you have 275 constituencies to cover, you are, hard pressed for resources and some of these people that we are talking about. But this is just Kumawu, so you have the chance to deploy your best. And so if you let this go by and you are not deploying your best and you go out to select anybody, it will come a long way to affect you. So if you compare this to the national election where we have 275 constituencies, and a number of polling stations to cover. The story is different here, where this is just Kumawu, and I'm sure we just have about 6 or 7 or 9, polling stations. So you have the chance to deploy the best that you have.
Interesting.
I mean, it's been topical since 2016. You recall the NPP when they took the matter to court. Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo took the matter to court. He had made reference to the fact that there were some polling stations that the agents didn't sign, and he wanted the courts to annul the votes there. We know that the court opted not to annul those votes, even though the use of the word was shall, that the polling agents shall sign. The point the court made was that the votes of the individuals are very important. That notwithstanding, we know that the agents are more or less the eyes and ears of the political parties and the candidates at the various polling centers in the constituencies. So they are the individuals who will raise the protest, they will file the protest, whatever issue that comes up, they are the ones who will complain about it and make the point that, look, I think there should be a recount here, or I think that this should not be done here, or that should not be done here. So they are very important to the parties, and it's no surprise that, like Kofi said, once they have the option of it not being a national election, they can deploy the very best and have them go over to be the polling agents. The other advantage it presents, perhaps, for the site, and that is that maybe someone likes Okujetu Ablakwa, or someone likes some DC who has showed up somewhere. He's walking in the queue and going to vote. He said, okay, this year, they are taking our elections.
So that's the snowball approach where one person can just rule over other people. So yeah, that's it.
Interesting. We're still receiving reports of gifts being shared. We'll try and work on those videos so you can see them for yourselves. But we're looking at the Kumawu constituency, the performance of the NPP and the NDC in Parliament. We've looked at that for the parliamentary seat. But there's also some data you have on the performance of independent candidates. And it's important because we have 2 of them in this election.
Well, before that, we've been analyzing this just by looking at one data point, just the NPP. But there's this template that I want to show you. This is the 2020, parliamentary performance for the Kumawu constituency. And you will see that this is what we're talking about, where the independent candidate came second, Joseph. And so let's analyze this. Philip Basua, the late Philip Basua, had 51%. And you can do a comparative analysis between what he got versus what the others, had, especially with the independent candidate.
Yes, so clearly, unlike other places where voting takes place, you tend to have NPP and DC. So this time around, you have an independent candidate, 11,000.
Sitting between, NPP and NDC.
NPP and NDC, 11,698. That's 39.96%. And
so 40%, let's say.
40%, let's say. Then you go to the NDC candidate that just had 8.33% and 0.59%. And so that is the reason why the NDC is going into this race knowing that, look, they have a shot, because they know that there could be a split between Mr. Kwekudua and Ernest Yawenim, which could play to their advantage. The NPP also fears that there's the potential that Kwekudua could cause an upset and snatch the seat entirely. And so that is what is really of concern to them in this particular.
This is a very nice and super template. I feel that this same thing can be replicated in the Volta region. What do you think?
It depends on how it goes. Especially, and I know why you are saying Volta, because there's the potential that people who are not happy with the primaries of the NDC, if they opt to go independent, then you can see that playing out. Generally, that's what's happened in strongholds. When candidates who are dissatisfied with internal primaries opt to go independent, they always get more votes sometimes than the ordinary party candidates. We saw it in Fomena.
Yeah.
A very classic example. In fact, Fomena, he actually snatched the seat. When he disagreed with how the primaries had gone, he went independent and snatched the seat, and he's now in Parliament as second deputy speaker. So those are dynamics that play out and could play out in Kumawu as well.
Well, we promised to bring you a beautiful analysis of the story of independent candidates in Kumawu. And it looks as if right from 1996 to 2020, it's just 2 years, 1996, which is pretty like an outlier, in 2016, that we did not have independent candidates contesting. Let's look at the data and see the interesting analysis that we're talking about. So this is 1996 to 2020. So 1996, there was no independent candidates, and there 2016. But apart from these 2 years, we have from 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, and 2020, all having independent candidates on the ballot contesting for the parliamentary seats with significant
I think we should focus on the percentage, the share. So if you pick Kingsford Boati in 2000, he got 13.40. Patrick Osei-Abuaji did not do
He was actually second.
Yes, at that time, yes. Patrick Osei-Abuaji did not do too well, just 2%, he placed fourth. Then you have Dominic Otin, who had 26.38, being second. Then again, he came in again, but this time around, he was third with 14.59. Then in 2016, like you said, just like 1996, the outlier, then you have Kwekudua coming in. So you see that there is that potential of maybe doing well, and doing well.
Well, I now see why Kwekudua is so optimistic he may win the election, probably because if you compare him and the others, just look at what Kwekudua had, 40.
He's a better candidate.
Absolutely. So there's a clear difference between what he had as a candidate, an independent candidate, versus what the others had. So, Bernice, that's the story of
right, gentlemen. And then much later, we will be letting you know what the by-elections have been like in other parts of the country. Joseph Akable and Kofi Ejo will be taking us through that. We'll take a quick breather here. We need to sip on some water. And we'll be back with more analysis on this particular by-election. Don't forget, we are your election headquarters. We are on the ground as we are live from our studio. Thanks so much for staying here on the AM show and the Draw News channel, your most credible news source. It's election day in Kumawu. This is your election headquarters, and we've been on the ground already, speaking to our men there, Nana Yaujima, Nana Boachi Yadom, and Ohiming Teria, and they've been reporting from different parts of the constituency. We had Richard Ahiangba responding to allegations of vote buying by Mr. Bande, who is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. We've also had reports of some people rejecting monies being given to them by persons believed to be agents of the NPP's aspirant. We've also seen videos of some spraying machines being given to people, hopefully in exchange of their vote. We're still on the ground, focusing on what's important. When our men are ready to furnish us with details, they will bring that to us. But in the studio, I've been joined by Dr. Tutu Boahin. He is a political marketing consultant and a lecturer for marketing at the University of Education, Winnipeg. Great to have you here, Doc, and your quick thoughts on what we've been bringing from the ground so far.
Yes, good morning to viewers, and good morning to you once again. I think that what we are gathering, I think, is good for Ghana's democracy. Obviously, it has been peaceful. We've not recorded any kind of violent incidents, and I think that going forward, we expect that the elections will be calm, it will be fair and transparent, so that at the end of the day, all participating candidates, will be happy with the result that the EC will put out. I also think that, these issues about vote buying, speculations and things, truly it's not good for Ghana's democracy. And when we want to build an enviable kind of democracy, then of course we need to do away with some of these practices. Going forward, I believe that politicians should know and should understand that vote buying is not a means, to winning an election. And obviously, we've recorded certain incidences which gets to the point that people would give money out. At the end of the day, they don't get what they are looking for. So I think that for now, let's see what the day brings, and let's look at the analytical aspect of the election, and then probably know how it will go.
It's quite an interesting one, and my colleagues have been sharing details with us, especially on the performance of the two main political parties when it comes to the parliamentary elections. It appears to be a stronghold of the NPP, but also there are those who are throwing in the currency, the effect of the times we are living in, and how that could likely impact the NPP. And there are those who are also concerned about the effect of Kwekudua on the NPP's chances and the introduction of the second Kwekudua. Interesting dynamics playing out here. I don't know what you have to say about that.
So the introduction of the second Kwekudua, to me, typically in political marketing sense, we refer to it as, it's a kind of strategy though, but a kind of warfare strategy, which we refer to as voter suppression or vote suppression. And the idea here is to confuse voters between two competing, candidates. And what has been done, there are speculations that the NPP has done that. And yesterday, I heard on one of the media stations that the NPP was also accusing the NDC of doing the same. And the idea here is that if it is that kind of strategy that anybody has introduced, what it means is that it will take away certain votes, especially from the strongest competitor, in the race. And it is done for reasons of fear. Number two, it is done for reasons of reducing your margins so that you don't probably win. So if there is any possibility of you winning, it probably may reduce, that chance. And you see, when you look at the second Kwekudia, of course, who is the youngest of the two, he hails from two major towns, I think Bodumasi and Kumawu itself. So he has family ties here, family ties there. And so what it means is that the first Kwekudia who caused that surprise in the 2020 election, also is somebody from Kumawu, all right? So what it means is that when the second Kwekudia was introduced, the idea probably behind the strategy, is that he would break that family tie in there and then pull a section.
So splitting the votes.
Splitting the votes, exactly. You see, so when that happens, then it means that the first Kwekudia is going to lose some kind of strength on the ground. But you see, it is not really that easy. It is not that easy, when it comes to, elections of this nature. One, if it was a strategy deployed by the NPP, obviously it would be a wrong move. That is, from my analytical point of view, it would be a wrong move. A wrong move in the sense that if you do that, you don't know what is going to happen when relations get into the ballot. What it means is that they may have a change of mind, and probably instead of going for the younger one, they go for the older one. All right. Now, depending on some propaganda machinery that will also be deployed by the older Kwekudia, it also means that there may be some kind of confusion even in the family setup. People may decide not to go and vote at all. Who is it affecting? All right. So they should have, in a way, strengthened probably themselves in their key candidates. All right. So that that confusion doesn't cause a reduction in the vote of the NPP, or wouldn't increase the votes of the older Kwekudia. All right. Again, I want to also talk about this issue about the chances of the NDC on the ground with regards to the speculation that the younger man or the young man was introduced by the NDC. I don't see that to be a reality, because what it means is that if NDC should go and back this young man, they will not have any effect. They will not have any effect in the first place. There wouldn't be any interest. All right. So even if he is going to reduce the votes of the older person, it will not to the increase of the NDC. And so that one, I don't think that it will be anything. The third thing has to do with the fact that Kumawu constituency appears to be, a safe haven for the NPP. That is true, because when you check the records from 1996, they've always won elections there. And so it will appear that, the NPP is going to win, and especially with the margins of wins. Obviously, when you look at the statistics, they have not won elections there. It is always about 50%. All right, always about 50%. And that tells you that the NPP is strong in there. The highest that the NDC, I think, has come so far, has been 38%. That was around 1996. And that tells you that the NDC has not been strong. Even in 2020, it wasn't that much, about 8% or so. And so you would understand the strength of the NPP in that constituency.
But Doc, based on what you've just suggested, that the NDC, in fact, has no reason to put in this second Kwekudia to try and get any vote on its side as a party, that feeds into the assumption that probably it is from the NPP side to try and reduce the votes of the first Kwekudia, who gave them quite a chase during the 2020 elections. Now, you've just mentioned this is the stronghold of the NPP, as we've seen. There are those who believe that with all the the presence of the vice president, the presence of the president just this weekend in the lead up to this particular election then suggests that the party is aware of the possibility of losing this seat. Seeing what is happening in Parliament, that will be a very, very interesting one if it turns out that the NPP loses a seat. What is your interpretation of all these activities? The vice president going there, the president going there, the possibility that they had thrown in this man, and how we could feed into the eventual results?
So the president going there, the vice president going there, probably is to give assurances to the people of Kumawu and their teaming supporters in Kumawu, to come out, to vote massively in support of the candidate, the NPP candidate. Apart from that, I don't see any other thing, because when you probably listen to the Kumawu people, ever since the NPP came to power, developments have not been that strong in there. And so people had some reservations with regards to, and that is why the road constructions and other things have been speed up, just to appease, there. But when you look at the older Kwekudia, okay, the 2020 Kwekudia, I may want to refer to him as 2020, just to bring that.
We have chosen Kwekudia the second or Kwekudia the first. It's much easier.
So the Kwekudia the first, right? So he actually, when you listen to reports, he has been doing some developments, supporting people in terms of the education, providing some social amenities and helping in one way or the other. So people are truly in love with him, his initiatives that he has brought into that community. And to me, his commitment to his people is a strong indication of the support that he's getting. Now, so that brings some kind of threat, to the incumbent NPP party in that constituency.
But Doc, as they say, fear delegates. Let me twist it a bit to say fear voters. And even we've had politicians who suggested that, Ghanaians are very forgetful people. They don't remember once you give them what they need. So talk about the construction of the roads, for example, that have speedily been done, or some attempt to continue with certain projects or initiatives. And in Ghana, that people usually would vote because it's a natural predisposition. They don't really say that, I haven't seen this or I haven't seen that. Once an MPP, the person is most likely to vote NPP. Don't you think that thinking, that characteristic of the Ghanaian voter will also prevent these works that you spoke of translating into votes for Kwekudia the First?
Yeah, so that is the point I was trying to make, right? Now, his initiatives could, probably increase his 11,000 votes. All right. Now, it is also possible that whatever activity that the NPP has also embarked on, over the past 2-3 months, can also reduce his votes. But then the point still remains as to whether Kwekudia the First is in touch with the base. That is the most important thing. What were his strategies, and how has the strategies actually informed voter intentions, all right, to vote for him and to support him? How would the people who supported him in 2020, remain loyal to him and still stick to him no matter the external influences? All right. Now, if he succeeds in getting that done, all right, then it means that he's likely to, maintain his 11,000 or probably increase it. And that can be a threat to the NPP. All right. Now, I suspect that probably is the reason why the NPP decided to do whatever they've been doing for some time now. Now, that could also be a reason why they need to move all the influencers of the party, to the place. And we just heard Anyagba saying that he has been there for the past 2 weeks. Okay, that tells you how important that seat is to them and the threat that they are faced with. Now, if if I will be right in what I see, in 2020, the difference between the NPP candidate and Kwakudia the first was 2%, representing a nominal figure of about 3,262. That is huge, very huge. 2% in an election, even national election, is huge. And so if a candidate is leading by 2%, for you to catch up with that candidate will be very difficult.
And so you still think this is likely a done deal for the NPP, or it's too close to predict based on the analysis?
Yes, it is close to predict on the, for the advantage of Kwakudia the first. All right. But what probably could change is when he's able to put a strategy down to even get more people from the NDC, NPP and NDC to his side. More especially, you see, the 2020 election for NDC wasn't that strong. 2,439, 8% wasn't that. But if he is going to pull something from the NDC and then pull something from the NPP, then of course it will be a danger. I don't know the strategy that he had on the ground, all right? But that is what probably can help him. If he doesn't do that, then it will mean that the Kwakudia, the second effect, will play.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Dr. Tutu Boahing is a political marketing consultant and a lecturer of marketing at the University of Education, Winneba, and he's been sharing his analysis with us. And that final one on who is likely to win, Doc, stay safe, it's too close to call. So we've still got our eyes in Kumawu, and we'll be bringing you all the details. And, as your election headquarters, we do it best. Stay with us throughout the day. We will be in Kumawu. We'll also be giving you in-depth analysis in the studios with our crack team of political reporters and researchers. Well, today, we'll be telling you about Inspire Today Foundation. It's an NGO that's focusing on supporting young menstruating girls in public schools. And we'll tell you why they're seeking your support for this year's World Menstrual Hygiene Day. Do stay for that. Hello, thank you so much for staying on the AM show. And the visuals you just saw is evidence of the work being done by Inspire Today Foundation. And they are all about empowering young girls and women to find expression, to be themselves. And that the world over, menstrual hygiene is a big problem for many, 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 many girls. And every year on May 28th, there is a commemoration of World Menstrual Hygiene. And this year's theme is menstrual hygiene, menstruation, a normal fact of life by 2030. And the overarching goal is to build a world where no one is held back because they menstruate. We've brought you stories of how girls cannot access education. We've brought you stories of what girls are doing just to buy a sanitary pad and how it affects their general life as young girls, and how sometimes it curtails their dreams of becoming who they want to be. Today I've been joined by Etonamse. You should know that name if you are a viewer of Joy News 10 years and over. Etonam was a colleague, but she now is Executive Director at Inspire Today Foundation, and Richard Bansa is CEO of Apps Mobile Solutions Limited.
Apps and Mobile.
Apps and Mobile. Okay, sorry, I missed that. Apps and Mobile Solutions Limited. And they're here this morning to talk to us about World Menstrual Hygiene Day. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
I am privileged to host you. Let me start with you, Etonam. Inspire Today, I've been seeing the work you've been doing, very phenomenal. It's not easy to do these things, especially pooling resources. Tell us more about Inspire Today.
So Inspire Today is a network organization. So what we do, we are a women's and girls' rights NGO.
we support young menstruating girls in public schools across the country with what they need to stay in school. So we give them sanitary towels, roll-ons, bathing soap, educational materials, shaving sticks, and depending on the needs of the community, we add underpants. So it's a lot of work we do with these young menstruating girls. So it's a network organization. We are nurturing a nationwide movement of female leaders. We are doing this through a concerted effort at achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals 3, which is good health and well-being, and then 5, promoting gender equality. And we've done this over the past 5 years with support from corporate institutions whose CSRs are aligned. That's why Absent Mobile is coming on board this year to support World Menstrual Hygiene Day. Over the period, we've had campaigns like MTN Ghana Foundation, Chamber of Mines, Stanbic Bank. A lot of companies have come on board to support Inspire Today. We're very grateful. What we are seeing is that the girl is struggling. The girl child is struggling. Over the period, we've been to not less than 5 constituencies. We've been to the Volta region, we've been to the northern region, and Greater Accra. We've been to at least 3 different constituencies, and the problems are enormous. I think I said to myself, I've seen poverty until I traveled to the north. Girls are using clay as substitute for sanitary pad. Clay. That is what they use to soak their menstrual flow. When in Dodowa cluster, the girls use newspapers as substitute for sanitary pads. We work with some publishing houses, Adriansa Publications, Step Publishers, and they give us textbooks. You take it to the schools, and some of the schools, the girls use the textbooks as substitute for menstrual pads. So they take it off from the books, and then they wet it with water, and that's what they use. And it's crazy. If you haven't experienced it, if you haven't seen them, you would think it's just a story. I mean, we were in the Volta region, and we met a 13-year-old girl who is pregnant by a carpenter who lives behind their house. Why? Because the man bought a sanitary pad for her when she had a menses the month before. And the girls are exchanging sex for sanitary pads. Yeah. It's a terrible situation. So what we are providing is a social intervention. We know that government is working towards, reducing taxes on sanitary pads, or maybe giving us a long-term solution. We don't know when that will happen, but while we wait for that, we're working with corporate institutions like Absent Mobile Solutions to give the girls the intervention they need.
I'll come back to you to tell me how this dream started. What inspired Inspire Today?
That's a good question.
But let me ask you, Richard, why did you choose to support Inspire Today this year?
Well, her story is very touching. To be concerned about the welfare of young girls who are not related to you in any way, for us, it's very inspirational. And as a corporate entity, we thought we could also support them to reach out to so many girls. When we heard the stories about what young girls out there are using when they are menstruating, we found some very unacceptable. As a grain company, we thought, why don't we go out there and do the little we can? If everybody can just support in the smallest way that they can, I'm sure the impact will be massive across the nation.
But your company is a tech company, right?
Yes.
So I'm just trying to draw the relationship, because usually CSRs are, even though they're corporate social responsibilities, there are ways to find a way to get, your own benefit in there. So I'm just wondering, what is the relationship here? Why are you interested in girls menstruating?
Oh, that's a serious question. Actually, my father, I also have a daughter, and I'm sure when she gets that age, most middle-income families procure that. Parents procure that for their children. So that shouldn't be an issue in my case, but I'm looking at the bigger picture.
Right.
We are a tech-driven company, and a lot of the things we do need a certain level of literacy. All right, so technologies, we release mobile applications. So if we don't have a population that is educated and literate, some of the things we do will not get the impact we want. According to a UNESCO report that I chanced upon, 1 out of 10 menstruating girls miss school during that period. A total of about 20% of school days in a year, 20% of their school days, they don't go to school. And some actually end up dropping out of school, they get pregnant along the way. And if you want to educate, if you educate a woman, you've educated a nation, according to Agri. So we need a concerted effort at reaching out to these girls, ensuring that they stay in school and become so they can fulfill their ambitions. So even though we are a tech company, we think that a widely educated population helps us achieve our mission and the goals as a corporate entity.
I'm really excited about this, and also because you tied into education. Just last week I was having a conversation on young girls on contraceptives, and what you said about girls exchanging sex for sanitary pads, something as basic as that. It will just make you cringe, you know, when you hear some of these stories. But Etanam, to the question, what inspired today?
I think it's a very, very important question. I went to a public school, so if you look at Inspire Today, we focus on public schools. You know, when people see on TV, they think that your story has always been beautiful because that's all they see on TV, a beautiful young lady who is speaking good English. But I've been through a lot as a young girl. I mean, I had parents who were most of the time in between jobs. I have seen poverty before. I went to a public school, Kutubabi 13 GHS. Growing up wasn't easy for me. I know what I went through even as a menstruating girl. So it's only important that when you grow up, you become a journalist, or you get to a certain point where you think you have a voice, it's important to give back. Right. It's important to go back and ensure that what you went through, the girls don't go through that. It's important to ensure that you encourage them and let them understand that you've been there before. So it's always important to reach out for support. So Inspire Today is inspired by my own story and the fact that I know that there are a lot of girls who are struggling out there. They just need someone to reach out to them and make them know that they understand, you know, their journey. I like I said, I felt that seen poverty until I went to the northern region. You give a girl 20 cedis and she's asking herself whether she should buy sanitary pads with it or food. They are all important. No girl should be left to choose between two important things. I need food to live, and I need the pads so that I can go through my monthly flow. So when you see a situation like that, then you know that we are failing as a nation. We need to set up and we need to support these girls. At that age, they're only trying to survive. They didn't ask to be brought into this world. And the theme for this year is very important. It's saying that by 2030, which is in 7 years, no girl should be held back in this life just because they menstruate. Yeah. Why should I go through such humiliation just because of my biological makeup? It is not acceptable. Right. You know, why should I not be able to afford something as basic as sanitary pads? The last time, International Day of the Girl Child, I was talking about the number of taxes we have on a sanitary pad. You will be amazed. I think I'll just want to pull that report for you if I have it.
It's important. And
so on import duty alone on sanitary pad is 20%. Import VAT is 12.5%. Get fund 2.5%. NHIL is 2.5%. Special import levy 2%. COVID levy, we are still paying COVID levy 1%. ECOWAS levy 0.5%. Export and import levy 0.75%. Inspection fee 1%. AU levy 0.5%, and Ghana Health Services inspection fee 0.5%. So total 45% on sanitary pad. What kind of discrimination? And this is basic. We don't choose to menstruate at the end of the month.
Right, you're absolutely right.
You know, we don't choose to menstruate at the end of the month. So it's important that we pay attention.
And this is a very passionate woman speaking here. And before we end, I'll just let her tell you how you can support the work she's doing. But Etonam, we are running out of time. But briefly though, I know that beyond offering the sanitary towels to the girls and even the exercise books, you also offer counseling services, which for me is very important because some of these young girls just need a shoulder sometimes to cry on. But briefly tell me what your impact has been over the 5 years.
It's been a beautiful impact, especially because we've had companies who have supported us. I mean, it's impossible to do this all by ourselves because we don't generate funds. So we have had companies who have supported us. And what we do is that when we give the sanitary pads, we usually give them 3 months supply. So we give it to them and we leave some in the schools because some of them come and they stain themselves and they have to go to the school for it. We go back after every 3 months. You know, the report, like you spoke about, is that the girls are missing classes just because they menstruate. So in a month, you find that the girl is missing classes 5 days. And their counterparts boys are in class. So what we do is that after 3 months of every donation, we go back to the school and we find out whether the girls have been consistent during these 3 months that we give. And I'm telling you, 99%, they come to school just because they have menstrual pads. And it's amazing. And Inspire today has what we call Inspire Youth Clubs. We mentor the girls, we take their data. They are sometimes in the middle of the night, they are calling you and they are telling you what they are going through. The girl go through, there was one lady who said, my parents are going through a divorce. So now, if I'm going through the month, I don't know who to ask money for sanitary.
Because they're visiting their rough.
They're always fighting.
Too bad. Richard, let me find out from Richard Esenam. I'll come back to you briefly. Richard, so you have decided to support Inspire today. What will your message be to other companies like yours in wrapping up the conversation?
All right. You asked a question, how does supporting menstruating girls tie into my company's vision? I think when it comes to CSR, we should look at the bigger picture. It doesn't always necessarily have to benefit your company's mission or goals directly, but we look at how we can all support a developing country like Ghana. So I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage corporate entities to reach out to Inspire today, to support them. We need an educated population. Once we get an educated population, I'm very sure that where we want to go or arrive as a country will be much easier to do or to achieve. So CEOs out there, corporate entities out there, kindly reach out to them. It doesn't have to tie up directly to your mission or goals. It's very important to support them.
All right. So, Etonam, just tell us how we can reach Inspire today. World Menstrual Hygiene Day is on a Sunday. So you're doing some work on Friday.
Yes.
So tell us how to support you and tell us more about what you're doing on Friday.
So on Friday, we are together with Apps and Mobile, Woma Africa, Step Publishers, and a few other companies. We are supporting close to 2,000 menstruating girls in the Ayawaso West municipality. So we are converging the girls at University Staff Village school behind the Legon police station. We are supporting close to 2,000 girls with menstruation pads, roll-ons, bathing soap, shaving sticks, and some educational materials. And we are asking the general public to come on board and support us. We are Inspire Today on Facebook, Inspire Today Ghana on Facebook, Inspire Today GH on Instagram, and inspiretodayGH.com. That's our website. So just reach out to us. If you have said it earlier, I would have put our mobile money and our account number out there. But once you reach out to us on all our social media platforms, we'll be able to. And my personal number, 0548-208-123. If you call me and you let us know. And also, if you're watching, your education director and your school needs support, reach out to us. We'll find a way and we'll support you.
Inspire Today, GH, really inspiring there. Thank you so much, Etonam Say. She's a former colleague here at the Multimedia Group, doing some great work out there. She's Executive Director of Inspire Today Foundation, and Richard Bansa is CEO of Apps and Mobile Solutions Limited. And we've been talking about World Menstrual Hygiene Day. Well, before I go, water is life. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all purposes, 330 and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. Here's what you must do now. Just drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's another quality product by Kasapreko Company Limited. Here's the number to call for bulk purchase, 026-235-1251. This advert is FDA approved, and that'll be it for our show today. Thank you so much for your company. God willing, we are back again with another exciting edition. Don't forget, we continue our coverage of the Kumawu by-elections. News Desk is up next.